Dub did say he's going to be late. So even though he did make the title, which I never appreciate Dub making the titles and then being late to the show, making me have to talk about things. But for anyone who doesn't know, this was this question was from Drink More Water, I believe. He sent a super chat on the last Open Gym asking about what we look for when we are talking about NBA draft prospects. And I thought it was a very good question that had like a lot of nuance. So I guess Dub thought that was why it was a good idea to make a whole title out of it. So once you guys decide to file in here and I don't have to talk to no one because I get kind of bored of that, we I guess are going to talk about what makes NBA draft prospects good, bad, what the concerns, the good things, the bad things, whatever. But while you guys join up, me and Dub will be on playback after this for I believe about an hour, where we get to actually watch NBA. Like we get to watch whether that's old games, we get to watch film, whatever we want, with no copyright. So if someone makes a take about someone or says something happens, we can fact check them because we have the actual ability to not get copyrighted for showing NBA footage on playback. So we can do that right after this. I believe the link to join playback is in the description. So if you haven't joined our playback, now would be the time to do so and then come right back here. But I'm gonna bring you guys up and then we're gonna talk about NBA draft prospects. So let's bring everyone up.
Salute everybody.
Yo.
How's everyone doing? Does anyone want to start on what they look for when talking about NBA players they want their team to draft or NBA draft prospects in general? Is there anything that you guys look for in particular, or is it just vibes for you guys?
I think I think it depends on what type of pick you have.
And
I think
the physical build of the player, how tall is the player, how athletic the player, what's the player wingspan, so on, stuff like that. The reason why is just the trend of the league and the way the league is going. Guys, there's more of a higher demand of versatile players, and the best way to do that is for those 6'7" to 6'8" archetype guys who can switch multiple positions. And the best way to do that is you have an adequate size. Another thing too is you notice like there is no this I don't think you can name a defender that don't have a wingspan longer than their height. And that's an important piece. Like most of the time they most great defenders have long wingspans. And I think from a physical standpoint, that's the first thing people look at in regards to prospects.
I honestly gonna disagree with you, H30. I'm not trying to be like, negative with you, but I think there's something that a lot of people overlook. That may be the standard, but what I'm looking for is how my guy works ethic is. For example, there are a lot of players who get overlooked because of their size and height, but then when you look at their work ethic, you look and say, wow, we overmissed this guy. Brunson, DiVincenzo, for example. A lot of people overlooked them because they were small, but they're right now both shooting over 40% from three, and they're also shooting above 45 from the field goal percentage. So for me, there's more than just the basic skill sets of defense and offense. I want to see if this guy's in the gym 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody else is out partying. I want to see if he's sitting down watching film and learning. That's what I want to see in my prospect because that's
Well,
the
Cowboy,
thing that
I do
advances
want to
your
make sure.
game.
I just want to clarify something, Cowboy. I didn't say it's only thing. I'm saying that's the first thing that most people look at. That's all I said.
No. That's
And
the and I said that you're right because to me that's the standard. The 6'6" guy that plays multiple positions, wings, can he shoot the three? That's the basic standard for majority of teams. But for me, I want to see where your heart is because if no matter how good of a player you are with your athletic abilities, if you can work and move yourself up, that's what I like. Look at Brunson. I'm not gonna make it that long about him. But if you look at how he played last year as opposed to this year, his footwork has improved. The way he's shooting the ball quickly on his release, the more on point that he has been as far as developing his game. A lot of people overlook that. That's why now they're saying we got to cheat. So for me, I want to see where your heart is. I want to see who you are as a player, regardless of size or shape.
I'm not saying I disagree because I don't. I think hard work ethic is important, but I will say the reason why a guy like Cam Whitmore dropped to the 20th pick is because people questioned those things about him. They questioned his attitude. Apparently, he didn't give good interviews. Apparently, he wasn't the right personality for a lot of these teams. Now, we're only in their rookie seasons. but I think everyone who didn't draft Cam Whitmore looks kind of stupid, especially the teams who had
Very
like
stupid.
pick outside of like Asar, because whatever
The Lakers.
anything from the 6th pick down. If you didn't draft Cam Whitmore, you look kind of silly right now. Now maybe 5 years down the line they'll be like, oh wow, Cam Whitmore has actually a problem, blah blah blah, whatever. Maybe, but for now, I think when you look at the physical tools Cam Whitmore had, 6'6", 6'7", 235, grown man strength, elite athlete, explosive, great feel for the ability to score the ball.
Shooting. His shooting is really good.
The ball, can shoot the ball.
Yeah.
There was no reason why anyone would say Cam Whitmore wasn't a top 7 pick in the draft.
I was gonna say who's your top 5 for the draft?
Yeah, he was my 5th pick. I was questioning Amen Thompson or Cam Whitmore for Houston
Because
like,
that's
that's how good I viewed him. So
Wemby, it'll be Wemby. I had Jaime. I had because was a really good shooter.
You had Jaime that high back then?
Jaime, I feel like he would have been like outer, probably like 6 or like you could probably argue him out, but I think he was a really good like.
He was good at UCLA, but top 5 is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
I think age is another thing. Yeah, I think age is another thing.
Age is a huge factor.
Jaime is so close to his ceiling already.
Jaime is what, 22? About to turn 23?
Yeah, 20. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we're at a point in the NBA where 22-year-olds aren't getting taken.
But yeah, I wouldn't. He's not like a top 3, but I'm saying like Jaime. I think he's one of the guys that you mentioned as like one of the top guys in the draft to me, at least.
Yeah,
I think also the placement of where he got drafted as well. Like he's on a team that kind of needs his skill set. So obviously he's able to kind of fill that role of kind of like being like this pseudo Jimmy Butler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the bench.
Yeah.
So I think his value. Oh, whose echo is that? What?
Football, you got a crazy echo right now. I don't know what it is, but I just had to mute you because there was a crazy echo going on.
But yeah, Mars. I think it's also that's why I agree with you in terms of like it's hard to analyze work ethic, heart, all these things. These are immeasurables, and it's a hard indicator when you're looking into the draft is how it's gonna pan out because one coaching situation, even the environment, being in a certain city. You know what I mean? Being in Minnesota versus Houston, being in Florida versus, you know what I mean, New York. It plays a part in how a player develops, the mentality, what they're going to focus on, you know what I mean? Like the distraction, things of that nature. So it's hard to measure heart and development. And also some teams don't have good player development. You know what I mean? So if you're in the wrong position, you could end up just screwing the rest of your career because you don't have the coaches to help you out with.
Okay. I question the Timberwolves player development, the 2010s, bro, because the people that they was picking draft after draft, bro, like you think about it, but it's certain players that you just they don't belong in certain teams that they're supposed to be on.
That was just a bad front office.
But that's a good thing though, because if you look at some players from past, like Hakeem started off with a coach that didn't use him to the best of his abilities.
Yeah.
He worked through it, and then when he got into certain situations, he learned how to use what he didn't want to use in a proper situation to his advantage. So it depends on your developing skills and your IQ. Because if you look at LeBron James, his first few years, he didn't want to do the post. But when he added that to his game and started changing it up, that's the IQ and that's the heart I'm talking about that you want in their player. Same thing with Rasheed Wallace when he learned how to do a step back in Detroit to step out and do a pull-up shot to where he could pull Shaq out. These are the adjustments I'm talking about when you say heart and determination.
The thing is, Cowboy, he just
go ahead, Sturdy. Go ahead. My fault.
Most people when they scout, they don't have that much time. Yeah, they don't have that much time to get that. Like Mars was alluding to, you only got a few workouts and a few interviews to determine that. And somebody got echo.
I don't know who it is. I'm investigating right now. I don't know who it is.
But yeah, that was, I'm not saying you're wrong because even some expert scouts like Cowboy, like most of the ones like are former players or like who've been in NBA offices for like decades, right? So they look for certain intangibles that like, okay, he has that. That's good. But I'm saying for the most part, it's kind of hard to determine heart and work ethic within a few meetings of a player. That's all.
No, not really. I'm just saying if you got an adequate scout team, you can find film, you can get work, you can see based off of how their workouts are. I mean, if you really want to be a scout, the league would allow you to go see these
It's not
players
necessarily
play
true,
with
Cowboy.
video.
Circumstance plays a certain part. Now, I agree with you. It is something that you want to look for. Like, obviously, you want someone who has their head on their shoulders, but it's
Hmm.
hard to determine that because things can switch from year to year. Like Mars just said it. Like Mars said, Amen Thompson, he's going to be good, but
Hmm.
we see that there needs to be development in skill sets, shooting, ball handling, things of that nature. Now, his ability to want to learn these things, we clearly see he wants to learn the things because the feel is there, the talent is there. But if he has poor development coaches, we're never going to see his jump shot improve. Lonzo had to go to New Orleans and had a great shooting coach, and his jump shot improved. If he went to a different place, maybe that might not be the case. You know what I mean? He may have the fortitude to do it, but if you don't have the access and the information, how can you correct it properly? It's
You
not
can
the
correct
intent,
it properly.
is the technique. Is the technique.
You're right, but then they also have coaches outside of management. I have a workout coach that can teach me how to shoot outside of the organization. If my shot isn't working with the organization, I could hire someone to show me to do drills for extra practice to step my game up. That's how I contribute. I may be missing my shots or it may not look as pretty, but I'm putting that work forward. I don't have to just rely on the scouting team alone. I have to do it myself. That's why I said if I see a player, he's out there hustling and bustling, putting in the work, watching film, making adjustments to his game, and he's not just relying on me to teach him, that's what I want. Because what I do teach him, whether it's positive or negative, it's going to advance his game. Those are the rarities of drafting that people overlook because, like you guys said, size, ability, stats, that stuff seems to stick out more because they only have a few sessions, as opposed to if you really sit down and watch these players. Like for me, people thought I was crazy. I had Jalen Wilson from the Nets. I thought he was going to be a first rounder when he played on the Jayhawks last year. I guess I was wrong. But the way I saw how he was able to play in tough situations, the way how I saw he was just fighting, I thought he had a chance to be a first rounder.
So real quick, Mars, just I want to make one point and then we can thing. Evaluating Josh Hart. Now, Josh Hart was on the Lakers, the Pelicans, and now he's thriving on the Knicks. Pretty much, I wouldn't. He's improved. He's improved, right, in certain skill sets with shooting. His ball handling has improved. However, he's necessary. He's pretty much the same player. However, the scheme and the responsibility that he has on the Knicks is very different from when it was on the Lakers, different from when it was on the Pelicans. So we've seen that it's not so much that he's improved this big. There's a big jump in his improvement of skill wise. It's more so scheme, responsibility. You know what I mean? And that is showing his value versus in New Orleans. So how, as a scout coming out of college, are you able to anticipate, okay, what's his role going to be on this team? What is his role going to be on this team? And then his skill set developing towards that role. That's why it's not.
I'm going to answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to answer real quick because I know, like I said, I don't want to stay on it too long. But Hart, with his scenario, you saw how he tried to play in the first half. The last half of the season with the team as far as scouting. If you haven't noticed, he has developed his game to where now it's more of a rebounding, shooting on the corner, and shooting in his high percentage shots. He's still not a good three-point shooter, but where he's taking his three-point shots are where he has his higher efficiency. He's also helping in rebounding. He's also helping creating by drawing the defense to him and creating a secondary shot for people because when he gets the ball, you see DiVincenzo still moving towards him the way he can set that back screen to give DiVincenzo the space to shoot the three. So his game has developed. But wait, hold on. I'm telling you. This is all stuff that he's learned from. Okay, my fault. I was just saying, but this is all the stuff he learned from with other teams. The reason why it's working well right now is because his role has changed, like you said, to where he's getting more opportunity and more time due to injuries. So based off of that, what he learned in those other teams when the system wasn't working, Josh Hart is working now. Because to be honest with you, he's going to be a double-double guy by the end of the season. 10 and 10. He's going to give you assists. He's going to give you points. And he's going to be that threat that everyone last year was talking about. Brunson should have passed him the ball. Not Hart. We're going to be up because of Hart. That's the development we need. That's what I'm talking about because you may overpay for a player like that or not, but to find someone like that, look at DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo is going to get into the starting role this year as a shooting guard.
He's shooting 40%, 41% from three, and 45% from the field, and it's also an 80+ field goal percent shooter, free throw shooter.
Okay.
However, the development of DiVincenzo from when he was on the Bucks was completely different of how they used him on the Warriors. On the Warriors, they allowed him to use a lot more ball handling, where we're able to discover, oh, he's able to play make, he's able to drive and dish, he's able to.
And I agree
So,
with you. I think DiVincenzo got a very deep bag that most people ain't gonna see, because look at last night. Last night was the first time they gave him 41 minutes. Look at his development for the remainder of the season. He's gonna be
so that's why
a
that's why I
He
said
showed that at
guard.
Villanova though, like a lot.
Well, so that's my thing is it's harder to evaluate how a player is going to improve, because that differentiates from team to team, from coach to coach. You know what I mean? So it's a hard way to the
We can agree
mental
on
part
that.
is harder to evaluate. That so instead of like mental and like, you know what I mean, IQ wise, I look for more so like high IQ plays and natural feel of the game. Like Mars said himself, and we agreed on this. Amen Thompson, when I saw in the summer league, his feel for the game was pro-like, very pro-like. Like he understood certain reads, he understands certain motions. Now finishing the plays, that might be the issue. You know what I mean? Because of the ball handling, because of the shooting. But he sees the plays. You know what I mean? He's anticipating in the same way that pros are. So I can see like, oh, he has a natural feel. He just needs to develop his skill, versus a guy that doesn't have that feel and he has all the skills, one-on-one bag, all these things, but he doesn't have no feel when it comes to 5-on-5. You know what I mean? And that's what I think the people had the issue with Cam Whitmore, whereas like he doesn't have a 5-on-5 feel, he has a one-on-one feel. And that's where I think where that lower, including the injuries, but I think that was one of the issues that they were saying, like he kind of had one track mind of just scoring. You know what I mean?
Was that
still
not
has.
Jalen
He
Green's
still has.
issue though when he came into the league? When people was that not his issue?
No,
No.
no. See, as someone who watched a lot of Jalen Green in the G League Ignite, because you know Jalen Green is the GOAT. The issues with Jalen Green, the issues with Jalen Green, there was like 4, maybe 5 main concerns. One was his size in terms of his height and weight at the 2 guard position. He was about 6'5", less than 180, and he's extremely frail and
really small.
So
his weakness.
so there was concerns about his strength, which is still valid to this day, where I keep saying he needs to get stronger. He get knocked off his path quite often. He's unable to really dislodge people on his drives, which is something Cam Whitmore can do. That's where they differ.
Yeah.
Another thing was his ability to handle in traffic, in terms of being able to navigate double teams, or be able to play if he gets blitzed in a pick and roll, or be able to drive with many hands reaching. For example, yesterday there was an example where he calls for a ball screen with Sengun. You know, AD's playing the ball screen. He plays a bit higher, and Jalen Green tries to snake the pick and roll, but AD rips him because Jalen Green still isn't comfortable handling the ball in those situations with that amount of ball pressure. That was another one of his concerns. His consistency was another major concern, and there was many games where he goes 5 for 6 from 3. Then he'll have games where he's 0 for 6. Like the consistency in terms of his outside shot was another thing that was a major concern for him. But there was never concerns about his willingness to pass, or his willingness to find his teammates, or he would always rather score than pass. No, he was a willing passer in the G League. He actually had pretty decent feel out of pick and roll in terms of some reads. So the issue was never his ability to play make or see the floor. The issues were in terms of strength and in terms of just his overall ball handling and comfortability with the ball in his hands. But there was never issues with his ability to see the floor or any of those things, from what I remember of Jalen Green in the G League and going into the draft process. But
okay, because I never really paid too much attention to Jalen Green like during that draft process. I think I'm thinking of him like in his rookie seasons and stuff like that, because I know a lot of times too, they took advantage of him in the post a lot, did they not?
Oh yeah. He was a mismatch. Anytime there was a switch, he was abused.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, like earlier seasons and stuff like that. Okay, my bad.
But but when it comes to just draft prospect, I mean, I think the intangibles are always a good thing to look at. Like, I think work ethic is cool, but at some point the skills matter. I think that's fair.
So whether you're good or you're not, it's either you're good.
Like when we're talking about draft prospects, I think the most important thing to look for is feel for the game. Like I think that's a major thing to look for, feel for the game, which is why I'm so high on Amen Thompson. I think if you don't know how to play 5-on-5 basketball, I don't think you're a very good basketball player. And that's why, and that's why I think Amen Thompson is such a special prospect, is because even though he lacks in terms of shooting, like one of the worst shooting prospects I've ever seen, and he's not a great ball handler right now, his feel for the game is so high for a 21-year-old, someone who just turned 21, by the way. Happy birthday, Amen Thompson. That it's hard to deny when someone, not only with the athleticism he has, which is borderline transcendent, but his ability he's already understanding how to manipulate defenses as a passer. That's something that doesn't normally come along as a rookie or a 21-year-old. There was a play last night.
Without good shooting.
Yeah, I'll point to last night. There was a play. The game was already over. Like, I'm not saying it was a high leverage play, but the game was already over. But he runs a pick and roll. It was probably with Sengun. Sengun was probably still in the game, and Sengun dives to the rim, and Amen Thompson is able. He comes off the pick and roll. He picks up his dribble. He looks off the low man in the corner and finds Alperen Sengun right under the rim. That's a pass that no one else on our team can make. Not only because he can see over the top, but the ability to manipulate that low man and hit Sengun in the roll is something that no one else on our team has done consistently at all. Amen Thompson being able to do that already as a 21-year-old is a sign that if he figures out other parts of his game,
put him at point guard already. Start him.
He's gonna be special. Like, that's something you can't
once they phase out Van Vliet,
that's one thing you can't teach feel for the game. Either you understand the game or you don't understand the game. Someone can make you see it more clearly, but you can't understand. But you can't get developed feel for the game. You either have it or you don't.
So Mars, would you say the first things that stand out is basically the things that you can't teach, right? You can't teach size, you can't teach feel.
You can't teach athleticism, you can't teach size, you can't teach feel for the game. Those things, if you are transcendent in any of those three areas, you have the makings of a good prospect, in my opinion.
Yeah, like you just said about Thompson. If he gets the average game of learning how to be consistent and actually learn how to shoot, that's the easy part. All the other stuff that he already has to his game, it's going to be easier for him to develop. That's what I'm talking about as far as difference. I think and I also think that's what separates people like that, because if he figures it out, I agree with you.
The skills that can't be taught are always going to be more valuable in a prospect than the skills that can be taught, in my opinion. If you have a competent player development staff, I expect you to be able to develop someone shooting. Now, I don't think Amen Thompson is ever going to be a great shooter. I don't think that. But I'd rather have a prospect who's a work in progress in terms of shooting and ball handling than someone who doesn't understand the game. Because I can't teach you to understand the game. I can help the game slow down or put you in better positions, but if you don't understand the game, you're not gonna understand the game.
I think that's why James is like progressing so fast in OKC. When he came out of Santa Clara, he was like really good. He's like throwing a lot of sick passes this year. His feels for the game of like drop off passing and stuff like that is like really good. And if you pair him in OKC, which has like a really good coach and a really good player development staff, he's gonna grow, and he's growing fast. He's gonna be like an all-star like by next year, and he's gonna keep growing. Even though he has like this 7'2" like ridiculous like wingspan, like what always stood out for me is his passing.
About his defensive ability. His defensive ability, like him and his brother, like I feel like with them two, because
his brother's really good too.
They're big basketball minds, so like they want to contribute on both ends of the floor. So I feel like also having the mind of being a willing defender is something that they should like take into more consideration as well. Like a lot of guys, I don't think. Well, outside of the ones that have the ability to, because they're long enough and stuff to play defense, but them being like 6'6" and just being really good wings, they can play the 1 through 3. I feel like once they get their skill further ahead with their shooting and stuff, they can play the 1 through 3, both of them. So I think that's really impressive.
I'm sorry, go ahead, guys. I'll let Charlie rock.
Who hasn't said anything yet?
I wanted to answer the question. Yeah, I haven't. So can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, the most important thing I think.
Why is your eyes closed? Why is your eyes
closed?
Yo,
come on,
he just let that man do his
thing. I've been trying to get out.
He just got to a basketball. Go ahead.
Anyway. So the most important thing you guys talked about is, of course, being able to play on 5-on-5, like the sets, understanding the sets. But for me, after that, of course, because that has to be the first thing. After that, the thing I always look for in a player is the highest floor possible. Because let's face it, whether you take a risk on your pick or not, the same chances of the player turning out to be a star are there. Like, to me, you need to pick a player who will always have something to fall on. He will never be out of the league. Like, for example, I know you can teach shooting, but if you draft an elite shooter, you know that you have got something at least. So even if he doesn't develop into anything else, you have something. If you draft an elite defender, you have something. If you draft an elite playmaker, you have something. This is something, and even that includes like rebounding. In general, I think drafting a player with a high enough floor to be a quality role player, that to me is the number one thing, because if you can play within a system, like I said, as a 5-on-5 player, I mean, and you have a skill that will always be there, it's a safe skill, that's an NBA player. That's an NBA player. Now, whether or not he becomes a star, it's always going to be a question. It's always whether you have the highest wingspan and the biggest like skill bag ever, or you're just a guy who has like a weird build and you turn out to be a great player anyway, like Draymond Green. Either way, I think it's always a risk. But the thing that you should probably look for is the lowest risk possible by picking a guy who has a safe bet. Like, he has something that you'll always fall back on. Some of them end up improving and becoming great players, like Kawhi Leonard. He was drafted mainly for his defense, and now he's one of the best players in the league. Paul George, same thing. Even some players who are drafted late are drafted for safe bets, like Jalen Brunson. He was the NCAA MVP, if I remember correctly, and he was drafted very late because of his age and size, and he ended up translating. Very few times these things don't translate, like Trey Burke. He was a very safe pick and he didn't translate. But usually, like 9 times out of 10, these safe picks end up translating, and they have the same chances of ending up being stars as the risky picks.
Ben
That's why,
McLemore was considered a safe pick.
I mean, Ben McLemore, I didn't see how he was good in 5-on-5. He was not moving well without the ball at all. I don't know.
Yeah, Hooper though.
He was a very athletic.
I do agree with like the floor like thing. Like, I think if there's two prospects who have similar ceilings and one has a noticeably higher floor, I think you do go with that prospect. But I think because the way the NBA is catered today, I think the most important aspects I think of any prospect is probably going to be shooting ability, versatility, and then probably like passing and like playmaking, like connected passing. Like the most safe prospect would be Derek White. If there was a Derek White in the draft, that's the most safe prospect. But I think sometimes there's a player with such, I don't want to say transcendent, but borderline transcendent upside who lacks in maybe one of those skills, whether that be shooting or whether that be playmaking or passing, or maybe it's versatility, who's so elite in one of those areas that I think you have to take the risk.
Alonzo? I got a question.
If there's a guard who's a non-shooter but has such high feel for the game and such high athleticism, I'm gonna keep going to Men Thompson because I genuinely think he's the second highest ceiling prospect in the class. So I'm gonna keep going to him. If there's a player like that, and then there's a player who gets taken a few picks below, like Anthony Black, who I think probably has a higher floor than Amen Thompson did because he's closer to being a better shooter than Amen Thompson is, and he doesn't rely on his athleticism to be as effective as Amen Thompson does. But the ceiling difference between Amen Thompson and Anthony Black is so substantial that I think you would have to take the risk and trust your player development and take that prospect because he can do things that no one else in the draft class can do. And if there's someone who exists who can do things that no one else can do, I think you have to take the risk. Like Wemby, I think has a high floor anyway because of defense. But just when there's a player who can do the things that Wemby can do, you have to take the risk. When there's a player who can do what Chet can do, you have to take the risk. When there's a player who can do what other, and when there's a player who can do what Luka can do, you have to take the risk. Like those type of players, when there's a player who has the ceiling as high as they have it, you have to take a risk no matter what the flaws may be. Where no matter if they never be a good defender, or they'll never be an elite athlete, or they'll never.
Thompson is the only example. Like, is there any other example other than Amin Thompson in the last like 10 years with that kind of
Let,
You
let,
can
performance?
let's
say
let's go
straight.
let's go
Lonzo.
let's go
I'd
to
say
the
Lonzo
say
because
superlative.
Lonzo
SGA.
had like horrible shooting ability, but he
No,
came
no,
out with like
Lonzo
elite
was an elite
passing.
shooter in college. Lonzo was an
Yeah,
elite
but
shooter.
No,
see
but
that,
that
that's
shot was
another
never
thing.
translating.
That's
That
why
shot
you
was never
and
translating.
that's why I think the percentages are I ignore percentages when I'm looking at draft
It
prospects.
doesn't matter.
I
He did
don't
not
care.
have a
I don't
question
care
mark.
that Lonzo shot 41% from three at UCLA. Everyone who was watching him knew that was not going to
It was
translate.
never going to
If
translate.
you can't shoot
But
going right, you can't shoot. I'm sorry. There's no Lonzo was never going to get that shot off in the league.
It was
Everyone
slow
who
too.
everyone
Like it
who
was never
saying
going,
he
bro.
ended up
if
getting it.
Lonzo is driving right, he has to stop and bring the ball back here. That was never going to work. Everyone
Yeah,
knew
that was going to be a weakness,
they
but he
weren't going to
could shoot
change it.
on a spot up situation. Like he was not
But
like.
we're not. But we're talking about a lead guard.
He's a point guard.
The
Yeah, he
ability
Not
has
to
to
to.
mention that
spot is random.
Lonzo had a high floor because of his playmaking
His passing,
and
yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
his
so
flaw was shooting
he
that
had
all the
a
time.
solid floor because of his feel for the game and his passing, but no one saw the defense coming along as well as it did. Because although he had great lateral quickness, his strength was not as good as it became. And the way
I thought he
UCLA
was gonna
played
get
defense, they didn't utilize his actual off-ball ability on defense as much as they could have. So there was a few things that was like we didn't see all defensive level from Lonzo. Not many
I,
people thought.
I
But
try
he
to
ended up
stay away
becoming that
from
in the
like.
league.
the
That's
shooting
because
could
of
be
player
at least
development.
as a spot up shooter. At least he could be a great shooter. Like
But
no one
like
thought
if
Oh man,
But then
I
you
I
miss my
lose,
agree,
boy
but like
Lonzo.
if
but then
if your best
you
attribute
lose
is
his
passing and
playmaking.
playmaking,
Yeah,
you're like
you
you
lose some
can't
of
be a
his
bad
passing and
shooter. Like I'm
playmaking
sorry.
if you have a spot up shooter. If you have to be a spot up shooter to be a viable shooter, you lose some of your playmaking value, and that was his biggest draw coming out of UCLA.
Hey,
Because we all
don't.
knew if Lonzo, it was Julius Randle version 2. If Lonzo goes right, he has to go all the way to the rim.
It was
If
done,
Lonzo
bro.
goes left, he's taking a step back 3. And he had no in-between game, no float game. And I knew the scoring was never going to be good for Lonzo coming into the league. I said the jump shot has to change and he has to develop an in-between game. So I wasn't as high on Lonzo's ceiling as a lot of people. And the floor was questionable to me because I didn't think he could be a
Yeah, but
lead
the
guard.
floor wasn't as questionable as Amin Thompson. That's the point. Like I'm asking about a guy because when you talk about Amin Thompson, okay, he's a good example of your point, but I cannot think of any other player who had like that high of a ceiling and had such a low floor and ended up being great. Like there were players who had high ceilings and low floors and failed, a lot of them.
I
Like
would argue Jonathan Kuminga, but his ceiling's not as high as Amen Thompson's, but Jonathan Kuminga is another boom or bust type prospect. Where
he's still not.
his feel for the game is questionable. But the athletic gifts he had, the upside he showed on defense, the fact that he was an extremely refined post player, which I don't know where he got that from, but his extremely refined post play, his ability in transition, his strength and ability to get to the rim. I think, like, for example, in that draft, I think Jonathan Kuminga was taken above Franz. Davion Mitchell was viewed as a safe prospect. Moses Moody, Corey Kispert. I don't remember other people, but like of the safe prospects, I would have obviously taken him over Corey Kispert. Like there was no debate in my mind between Jonathan Kuminga and Corey Kispert as prospect, because Corey Kispert was a 4-year player at Gonzaga. He played next to Jalen Suggs, but I think you would be crazy to take the guy who has a clear higher floor in Corey Kispert as a floor spacer, run the floor in transition, solid off-ball defender who has a role in the league, and he's a solid player, Corey Kispert. But if you pass on Jonathan Kuminga for Corey Kispert, I think you lost your mind.
I got a question.
I think you've lost your mind.
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so do you think and I agree with what he said, like mostly what he said, but do you think teams when they go into the draft process, it depends on what level or what's the team's like the team's current ceiling or the team's current
like drafting for fit or like
do contended teams draft should contended teams draft for fit and should rebuilding teams draft based off that potential, based off that possible lower floor but higher ceiling level player.
So should rebuilding teams take more risk, basically?
I would say something
let's say
that.
you're a contending team, like for example.
The thing is, I was going to say that. I was going to say that the only
like Golden State a few years ago, they missed that 1 year because everybody was hurt, but then they end up drafting
they drafted for fit. Yeah, that was a bad choice.
Wiseman wasn't even a fit.
And that was
I know, that's crazy.
That's besides the point. That's besides
It-
the point.
it-
They just decided they
he
needed
really,
a center that couldn't
he really
shoot that
wasn't.
crazy.
But
No, they had the right idea, but they chose a guy who don't play two college playoff games.
Yeah, I was going to say one last thing. To me, if you have like a top 4 pick, that's probably an exception. But I'm talking about the teams that like are not so bad that they have such a very high pick, and they need to pick like a superstar potential player. Because once you go below these like top 3, top 4, top 5 guys, you will run out of these like guys who are like very high ceiling players, but they have something. Most of the time you'll be choosing between a guy who would probably be either out of the league or very good, or a guy who will be in the league and might actually be very good in the end. Like, so to me, if you have a pick below the 5th pick in a draft, whether it was deep or not, like if there wasn't anyone that was so good that got passed on, like when Michael Porter Jr. got passed on because of his injury or any of those rare cases, I feel like you go for that safe pick when you're drafting like late enough, not late like in the end of the first round.
So
But
do
I
you
mean,
think it's smart that teams passed on Cam Whitmore?
I haven't seen him much yet. Like I want to see more of him. I don't know yet.
Let me see the teams that passed on.
Well, why do you drop?
I know every.
You know why you dropped
I
him?
know the Lakers passed on.
I know every. So at 5, the Pistons took Asar Thompson. Then 6, it was
That's
Anthony
fine.
Black to Orlando. 7 was Bilal Coulibaly to Washington. 8 was
That was
Jarris.
a good pick.
8 was Jarris Walker to Indiana.
That was a tough pick.
9 was Taylor Hendricks to Utah.
I like Bilal though. I'm not gonna lie.
10 was Kason Wallace in the trade to Dallas from OKC.
Kason-
11 was Jet Howard. 12 was Derek Lively. 13 was Grady Dick.
I actually
14
like
Grady
Jet
Dick's a
Howard.
bad pick. Grady Dick's a bad pick.
14 was Jordan Hawkins. 15 was Kobe Buffkin. 16 was Deontay George. 17 was Jalen Hood-Shafino. 18
That was
was
crazy.
18 was Jaime Hackers. 19 was
Pods is good. Pods is good.
And then 20.
Honestly, like
Hey,
guys
hey,
like
hey, Mars, did they give a reason why he dropped in so low?
The rumors were apparently he didn't interview well, and apparently there's some concerns in terms of a knee injury, which I don't believe to be true. I believe that's just something that they floated.
We have to wait and see though. We haven't seen enough yet.
Maybe
Like,
What do they ask in these interviews typically?
if it's anything like the 2K13 micro,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
if it's anything like that, they ask how you feel you fit into the certain team.
Yeah, just
and
basically
then
like
what
they
are
ask-
the
they ask-
main
yeah.
goals in the NBA.
Yeah, they ask basic personality questions.
yeah, just
you know what I'm saying?
character questions.
And then character questions and a few hypotheticals, stuff like that. Like,
Got it. Do you think?
Honestly,
Do
it'd be
you
perfect
think?
for
Do you,
Orlando
do you
right now.
think these interviews are like outdated, or do you think that?
yes, 1000%.
I don't know.
I think we're at a stage where so many young players are media trained that you're not going to get the true answer. From
Right.
them if you ask them personality questions. Like I know for a fact.
yourself in 5 years.
What's the worst part of your game?
Yeah, if you were to throw me into an interview and you ask me a personality question, I know the right answer. Anyone can say what you want to hear, and I know
Mars,
I wasn't in
Mars,
the room
how-
for those interviews, but I'm assuming Cam Whitmore probably was just pretty. Based on his demeanor, I think he was pretty blunt,
Straightforward.
with his
Yep.
answers.
Right.
I think that's just how he is. I think he's very blunt, straight to the point, and he probably didn't show much excitement towards any of these organizations. He was just
Hey, Mars, how do you
Yeah.
fit into Player's Choice?
Oh, I mean, I think I love what Players Choice was going on as a platform. I think they really bring something unique that not any other platforms really have going on. I think if you were to ask me what platform I think compares to Players Choice, I think it's that's what makes them so special is that no one else really is filling the niche that they're filling in terms of giving fans a voice.
Hey, this
I
boy's
think that's
good.
what makes them really stand out.
Hey,
Why I align myself with what Players Choice has going on more than what a lot of these other platforms.
Managers trust is up by 10%.
Nah, I don't know, Dezo. I don't know, man.
Mark,
You
I
guys been
don't
talking-
know. Need a
we've been
manager.
talking
He gave a pretty good answer.
We've been talking
He
about.
didn't show me enough confidence in that answer, Dezo. I don't know, man. Got what it takes.
He don't need a
Okay.
manager. It's all his own.
I was gonna say
No, that's how it be. Like they go off how they interpret the answer, how the guys like answer the question. That's all
The
it is.
Anthony Black pick wasn't. I don't know. It turned out weird because I think they drafted him to replace Suggs, but Suggs has been like so good this year. I don't think.
I like Jet Howard.
Yeah,
Suggs
I
is so
someone
good.
who didn't believe in the J, like I believed in his defense, even though his defense has leveled up again.
His shooting is so good this
Offensively,
year.
I
Oh
thought
my
offensively, I thought he was so cooked that he couldn't stay. But Jalen Suggs is Orlando's best guard now.
He's been the best.
He's
been the best perimeter defender in the league for me. He's been incredible.
I didn't foresee Jalen Suggs being the best guard on Orlando. So credit to him.
That's what I was gonna say earlier, right? When he was making his point about elite shooting being like the thing that teams should go for. I was gonna say like elite defense or defense in general is probably it's probably the safest bet for a prospect because
the whole league doesn't play defense anymore. What are we talking about?
No, I mean,
they putting up 140 points a game.
Wait a minute.
Remember Josh Jackson? Remember Josh Jackson?
Example. Look at Ant-Man.
Hey, I could have told you Josh Jackson wasn't gonna be shit.
All right, so but the thing is,
but the defensive ceiling, Josh Jackson, bro. I don't know.
But here's a couple examples.
Hold on. He got drafted because of
Anthony Bennett.
Go ahead.
Yeah, here's a couple examples, right? Jonathan Isaac missed a whole 2 years, and he's still valuable because straight defense, bro. Like he's gonna have a job. Victor Wembanyama is gonna have a job for the rest of his career because of his defense. You know, like defense is something that, as long as you have the hustle and the energy to do it, you're gonna keep a job in the NBA. What's guys from Portland?
I mean, I think if you're skilled at any aspect of basketball, you're gonna be in the league. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Thibault can't do anything else but play defense. You know what I'm saying? So
but here's the handicap.
Well,
at some
did
point, you
develop
gotta
a corner
transition into.
he developed somewhat.
That should stay, bro.
If you don't develop anything, you end up becoming Andre.
Yeah, especially like look at Patrick.
Andre Roberson got hurt though. That's not fair.
You gotta be able to stay in the league. You have to be able to hit your.
Roberson wouldn't be in the NBA today.
What you should look for, you have to be able to hit open threes when the ball swings to you. Like that's why I never understood the Ben Simmons. I don't know what you guys thought of Ben Simmons when he was coming into the league, but the fact that a guy who wouldn't shoot the ball was a primary ball handler always never sat right with me. So
everything else is so special.
I'm gonna be honest. I believed in Ben Simmons wholeheartedly.
I didn't. I never did. He was overrated at LSU as well.
Yeah, there wasn't a part of me that thought Ben Simmons wasn't going to be a special player. Now, when I heard that apparently when the issues in terms of like motor and dedication came out, that was a concern. But in terms of like the talent, there was no
the talent's crazy, bro.
There was no part of me that thought, Ben Simmons ain't going to try.
He wouldn't shoot the ball.
Football. I'm listening to a little secret. Football. I'm listening to a little secret. You don't have to be a great shooter to provide adequate spacing for your team.
No. I didn't say great shooter. Wouldn't.
To be honest, but he would shoot the ball at like LSU though. So like coming out, you wouldn't think he was gonna like just flat out not shoot the ball
wide open.
That's kind of fair.
On the wing three off of a good pass and wouldn't shoot.
He wasn't doing that at LSU though. Like that's not the problem.
Yeah, he wasn't.
People were still like,
so if Giannis catches the ball wide open on the wing, you want him to shoot it?
If he's wide open, take the shot, bro.
No.
Not every time, but bro, you can't pass it up every time.
Yeah,
yes, you can,
bro.
Yes, you
can. What you can do, you take advantage of that closeout.
It's on the organization to understand what the player can do and then build around them accordingly. If like this is why Draymond Green doesn't shoot them often. Now he's shooting them more. But if you get left wide open and teams don't close out to you, and you get a guard who is a good movement shooter next to him, Ben Simmons can run a dribble handoff with that guard. And if the low man is not there because he's not closing out to Ben Simmons, when he comes off that screen, he's going to be wide open. So
that's who was JJ Redick.
That's Draymond Green's bread and butter. When teams don't close out to Draymond Green, here you go, Steph Curry, dribble handoff wide open.
No. It was egregious with Ben Simmons, bro. It was as if you're playing 2K and the shot button literally wasn't working for you.
And that's because they didn't put movement shooters around him, and that's what Markelle Fultz would have been. And that's why, Philly kind of got unlucky with the Markelle Fultz thing. because Markel Fultz would have been a great complement to what Ben Simmons could have done. Markel Fultz, JJ Redick around Ben Simmons would have worked.
Marco Bell.
His
best playoff series was Marco
Bellinelli. From year to year,
that would have worked.
I knew he didn't work on his game over the summer.
But do you think Ben?
And yeah, I think you can be zero threat as a shooter on the perimeter if you are a high IQ player who understands spacing, and you are 6'10". Now, if he's 6 foot tall, you
can't say he didn't work on his game because his defense got markedly better every single year.
He didn't work on his game.
His defense got markedly better every single year.
And that's why I'm disappointed in Ben Simmons. The fact he never developed his post.
He never worked on his game over the summer. He never improved.
The fact that he never developed any
his defense didn't improve.
He's been the same
player.
I
don't know, Mars. That post up.
He didn't shoot threes. I don't care.
That running left hook he does, man. He ain't come with the league with that. He worked on that, Mars. Come on,
he came into the league with his little.
Bro, stop.
He came into the league with that. When he's running across the lane, the little.
He's the same player.
He had that from day one.
He did not come in as like a.
He's not the same player, bro. He's not the same player.
His defense leveled up exponentially. But offensively, he's pretty similar to.
Do you think Ben Simmons would have bought into running that kind of action, like the dribble handoffs? Because
he was running with JD Redick. He was running with Marco Bellinelli. Like he was there.
They just didn't have enough movement shooters to justify running it consistently, and then they ran it with Embiid as well. And then Simmons would be in the dunk.
I've always pictured him more comfortable just having the ball at the top of the key and then just running downhill. You know, I've always pictured him.
Bro. Ben Simmons is a transition player. You give him the ball in transition. He's not Giannis, but it's the similar.
He's not a good half court player.
You let Giannis run the floor. You let Giannis run the floor in transition. You let Ben Simmons run the floor in transition. They're gonna collapse. He's gonna kick out to shooters, or he's gonna go finish. And then in the half court, you can use him as a. He can pass out the high post very well. Good floor vision. He can pass at the top of the key. He's a good screen setter. And if you get movement shooters around him, he's gonna be variable. And I'm not gonna lie. If he stays healthy in Brooklyn the rest of the season, watch how they use him next to Cam Thomas. I promise you're going to see the exact thing I'm talking about. Watch how they use him next to Cam Thomas and Mikal Bridges. They're going to do the exact thing I'm talking about. If Jacques Vaughn isn't.
Ben Simmons is a waste of money and time.
Him with Mikal is going to be so good.
That's literally what they're going to do.
They blew the Jazz out the fucking water, bro. I couldn't believe that score. That was nuts.
Ben Simmons' impact, man. It's Ben Simmons' impact.
Yeah.
I think being 6'10", not being able to shoot is fine. Now, 6 foot guards, like if you're 6'3" and can't shoot, I don't think you're gonna last.
Describe his post game, Mars.
He doesn't have a post game. I said he can pass out the high post. I said that. I'm with you in terms of he doesn't agree.
He doesn't have a post game.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of his threat to score. He can only score in the half court. I mean, in the full court. I'm with you. But I'm still saying he can still be valuable in the half court with his passing.
I just think you need very specific pieces for Ben Simmons to work, and it's not worth it for a player like him, for a guy who has the ball in his hands that much. For me,
and I'm
Ben Simmons.
That's why I'm disappointed in how good he turned out as a number 1 pick, because I think he could have been.
Mini Draymond, we back,
but he's still a good player.
Draymond's
1000%.
ball. Draymond's so much more valuable than Ben Simmons, bro. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, Draymond is better than Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons way better. Ben Simmons can be a Draymond Green for a team. Offensively,
better.
Defensively,
no, he's not better than Draymond offensively. He's really not.
He can be.
No, he can.
Right now at the 4. Come on now.
He can
be definitely.
His ability to finish around the rim and his size just being that much bigger.
Dude,
hey,
Draymond
we gotta.
I don't know. Like,
hey, hustle, chill out, bro. Chill out.
I think we sleeping on. I don't think he could be better. Like, I can never. I've seen Draymond in the game 7. Have 37
fake ass shooting, man. I can't.
Yeah, because he shot the ball. Ben Simmons wouldn't even get those attempts up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, football. You're literally describing. You're literally describing. Your only example is Draymond's once in a lifetime game. That's literally a once in a lifetime game.
Talking about that, Draymond on average will take more open shots than Ben Simmons will. Ben Simmons has
Draymond didn't take shots from like 2017 to like this year.
How many threes Ben Simmons made in his career?
He stopped shooting.
How many threes has Ben Simmons made in his career?
Draymond in 2022 refused to take shots, bro.
How many threes has
I don't think Draymond made 1,000. I don't think Draymond made 1,000.
I know he's made more than MJ.
How many threes has Ben Simmons made in his career?
Ben
less than 10?
5.
Come on, bro.
He's made
5.
5.
That's 5. That's 5 more than you need to take. To be honest with you, you don't need to take 3s.
That's crazy, bro. Whatever.
You don't need to take 3s. Like, I don't know what to say.
How many games has Ben Simmons played?
324.
Okay. That's
So he
Yeah,
scores.
he doesn't need to take threes. What's up with this
He makes
3-point
a three. He
One
makes a
three
three every.
every like
He
70
makes a
games.
three every
honest.
64
Otherwise, you're
games.
just
What
gonna
are we
play
talking about?
for him, bro. You have to keep. It's not about necessarily making them. You got to at least keep the defense honest somewhat. Like Giannis is not the greatest 3-point shooter.
He
But
should
if
stop
you
taking threes. I'm
wide
serious. Like
open, completely undefended.
Giannis would be better if he shot 0 threes a game.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to tell you. No one. The reason why, the reason why people, if in your scenario, football, football, in your scenario, right? When the ball swings and say if Giannis open on that wing, you know what people are going to do? They're still going to not hard close out. They're going to do a soft close out because at the end of the day, Giannis is still going to use that space you gave him and be a scoring threat. So you don't have to make threes to be a scoring threat. You don't.
And what I'm saying with Ben Simmons, they're literally not even gonna do any soft closeout, and he'll still pass the ball. He won't even take advantage of that. Like I've seen it multiple times in playoff scenarios as well. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I think 3-point shooting is the least of Ben Simmons' problems.
Bro, he's just on offense. If he's just a non-player on offense.
To be fair to him, I don't think Doc Rivers or Brett Brown know how to use spacing correctly. So like
they don't. Doc Rivers is notorious for not understanding spacing. So I don't.
They just have him on the dunker spot while Embiid's like posting up. So I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like that's kind of like just bad offense.
Like Ben
The
Simmons
thing is,
is
to me,
terrible.
if you're a good basketball player, you're good. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you got it. My bad.
I was saying, if you're a good basketball player and you know you're a good basketball player, and everyone knows you're a good basketball player, one weakness should not ever drop you like that. I'm sorry. 3-point shooting is not his problem. His mind is.
And I'm with you on that.
And injuries.
He should be more aggressive downhill. I'm with you. But that doesn't mean I need him to shoot threes.
His work ethic is injured, bro.
Giannis should never shoot.
That's why I'm disappointed in Ben Simmons, not because he can't shoot, but because clearly the actual effort to improve offensively or be aggressive offensively is where I'm like.
Yeah, he just doesn't. His motor sucks. Like
that keeping the honest, like defense honest is like why Giannis like pops out for three for no reason on every pick and roll. Like he needs to stop that.
Nah, he does that. He does that just to do that. It's definitely not to keep the defense honest.
I know
there's nothing. It's definitely to keep the defense honest. Like I don't know why he does that, but
Ben Simmons isn't a point guard. Ben Simmons is a power forward.
So
he's not a point guard, and he wasn't a point guard at LSU either. He's never been a point guard. They used him as a point guard. And that's another thing that coaches seem to get away with. They keep just putting people who can't shoot and making them point guards. Stan Van Gundy did it with Zion for no reason, just made Zion a point guard. Jason Kidd did it with Giannis, just made Giannis a point guard.
Makes no point.
And then they did it with Ben Simmons. They can't figure out how to they don't understand spacing well enough, so they just end up just putting a non-shooter on the ball because that's the only way they think they can be guarded. That's just stupid. Ben Simmons was never a point guard. He was never a point guard. He was just a good enough passer that they were like, oh yeah, put him at one.
A good enough passer is a little.
No, he's really
good. He's a good connector. He's a good connector passer.
His half court game
Ben Simmons is not a point guard.
His half court
game is amazing passer.
Don't get tricked.
You can call it. You can give him whatever adjective for passing you want. He's not a point guard.
I feel like if you put him on the ball, his playmaking diminishes so much in the half court setting. I think he thrives off of like 4-on-3s. Like if you put him in like a ball screen with an elite shooter, and like you can just make him connected passer, like that's the best way you can use him in the half court.
So trade him to the Warriors.
Exactly.
Simmons, I'm telling you.
If he was playing in Portland with Dame at some point, like that area.
If you had Ben Simmons on Phoenix right now,
exactly,
he would help.
They win in the chip.
Offense
That's very good. That's a very good fit.
And that's what I'm saying. Ben Simmons, and one of the problems is Ben Simmons is making max money, but Ben Simmons needs to be around max players. That's what he needs to be around.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm fine with. I understand the issues with having Ben Simmons. I'm not arguing against that. But Ben Simmons is an impactful basketball player in the right situation. He's just not in the right situation, and he makes too much money to be put in.
My thing is the right situation requires an extreme amount of talent around him. Like
yes, that's how ceiling raising works. Yes.
That's how most players are in football. Unfortunately,
that's how most role players
to complement their weaknesses.
It's not
no football. That's how most. That's how team game works. Nobody's perfect,
bro. Philly had the best. Philly lost to what year did Philly lose? Was it when they lost to Toronto?
2019.
They probably had the most.
2019.
If you were to the way people were talking about Ben Simmons at the time, they had the best starting five. And after that series, people should have known that Ben Simmons wasn't that guy. That's when I absolutely knew I was right about Ben Simmons.
But football, you hate watch, so it's like I don't know what you do.
I truth watch, and I've been right about Ben Simmons ever since.
Yeah, but it depends on what you expect from Ben Simmons. If you thought Ben Simmons was going to be the best offensive player on a championship team, I think you would just.
I didn't. But do you hear how people were speaking about Ben Simmons coming into the league, and then how?
Yeah, and I think calling him LeBron James was dumb. Like
I called him Magic Johnson.
I think Magic Johnson was dumb because, like I said, he's not a point guard.
Yeah.
But Ben Simmons in the right
was like, they literally compared him and Brandon Ingram to LeBron James and Kevin Durant.
Like,
yeah, and the Kevin Durant Brandon Ingram comparisons was stupid to me too.
Yeah,
but I was a Brandon Ingram hater back then. So
imagine comparing guy to Brandon Ingram just because he's thin.
KD,
just because he's thin. Like I'm thin too. I'm Kevin Durant then.
I was a Brandon Ingram hater, so I would admit that I was just hating on him. But Ben Simmons in the right situation would still be impactful today. Like I'm telling you, if he.
How do you feel about Brandon Ingram now?
He'll be on a good team.
Hey, my quote real quick, guys.
Yeah,
I gotta go. So
I feel like
later. Go.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Go. And good show. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Brandon.
I feel like Brandon Ingram should be. I don't know. He should just be driving more. I feel like, but like he just doesn't have the finishing talent to do it. So, and it just makes him like his shot making is like top of the league for me. Like the shots he takes and makes, it's like so difficult. But like at the same time, there's
a cap on his like how efficient he can be because A, he's not a good 3-point shooter, and B, because his ability to get downhill and play through contact is.
It's a bad. Like,
he's gonna take pull-up middies if he gets obstructed. That's what he's gonna do. But that shot making is extremely valuable when you're playing in the half court in the postseason, and you need someone to be able to create a shot. I mean, that's why I think Brandon Ingram is very good. And also, his playmaking just levels up every year, in my opinion. I think Brandon Ingram.
If he was a better driver, like his playmaking, he could legitimately be one of the better playmakers in this league for a win. To be honest with you,
like he's a very good passer.
He's a smart player.
There's not many wings, I think, are better passes than Brandon Ingram.
As soon as Brandon Ingram gets bumped on that drive, though, he's gonna pull up for that mid.
Yeah, he picks up his dribble the moment there's contact.
I do want to touch on the Ben Simmons shooting thing earlier, but I do think it's like when Giannis takes like threes, I think that's a waste of a possession. Like, cause it's like
that's a turnover, man. I'm sorry.
I'm like, yeah, it's a turnover. Like Giannis shooting a three is just like you're just giving.
He makes. Like some of them though, like he doesn't.
No,
it's not like he's shooting 0%.
Even if it goes in,
it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
a Giannis 25% three is not worth it.
My whole thing is
it's a bad possession.
No, my whole thing is Giannis will have times where he can even take a dribble and pull up for a three like that wide open. Ben Simmons in the same scenario. Like there's some threes like, bro, I know you're
bad. Just take the midi, bro. Just take the midi.
You gotta take the three.
I'd rather Giannis go up on 3 people in the paint than him shoot a three. I'm gonna be honest.
That's tough.
I would rather that because like the three is just like to me it's just a way. Like whenever he shoots a three, I just cringe. I'm like it's not going in, and when it does go in, I'm like damn. So it's just like I just think it's a waste of position. I think it's low IQ.
I think the thing is like Giannis. I think Giannis takes them mostly. He takes them because he's tired and he doesn't want to always go inside. But I think also like he's trying to keep the defense respectable so that when they do close out, he can use his speed and athleticism to just get right.
I understand.
Even a half closeout.
It will never happen.
No one's doing it.
Never happen.
When Giannis gets the ball wide open for three, the defenders turn and get ready to rebound.
Yes.
They don't close out.
No, Mars.
I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you real quick.
Some of them even start running on transition.
Perfect example, Dezo. When Giannis gets hot, like in Game 6 against Boston or Game 6 in the finals against Phoenix, look how DeAndre eating all these guys when he was making threes, shooting at a high clip of that game. They still didn't respect him. Because that's not his game.
If he makes one, he's taking three. Like, I'm sorry. Like, he makes one of those 3-pointers.
He's
a Marcus Smart shooter.
First three of the game. I want him
to Marcus Smart shooter.
Take another one.
He's a Marcus. He's a Marcus Smart shooter.
Giannis make his first three.
Bro, I remember. No, there was. I remember
this
when they were
season he's
playing.
actually done a better job with that. He doesn't take as many threes
Yeah,
this season
yeah.
as he did the
Yeah.
other.
Yeah,
So I'm giving him
this
credit for that.
Giannis.
That's why
Back in,
his.
Giannis
back in
top
the
3
day,
player.
if Giannis makes his first 3 of the game, he might take 7
That's
threes.
why his field goal
Yeah.
percentage is so high. He's not taking that many
I
threes.
mean,
But what's it called? The problem with I watched him play the Rockets one time. I think that you ever playing named Tate, right?
Yeah.
Bro, he jumped on a Giannis 3. I couldn't believe it. I was like, yeah, cut him.
We
I was like, cut him.
trying to get Jason Tate off the team, man.
I was like, cut him, bro. When I seen him jump on a Giannis 3, I said, cut him.
I was like, cut him.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I'm
you
gonna be
can
honest. Tate, I don't want you on my team, buddy. I don't want you on my team. You lucky Tyrese
honestly,
isn't hurt right now. That's the only
you
reason
can
he's still in
fake
the
you
rotation.
can fake contest a Giannis 3 in order to run faster in transition, so that you can get like a fast break point instead of waiting for the rebound. So you make it seem like you're going to contest, but then you just run past him.
That's true.
Like Ben
That is
Simmons
true.
doesn't even look like he's going to shoot. Like, bro, I don't know, bro.
I don't know
never
why
seen
we criticize people for being conscious of what they can and can't do.
Yeah, that's not a bad
more
thing.
basketball, in my
That's
opinion.
not a bad thing at all.
Like Westbrook
Yeah.
shouldn't have been shooting shots for like a couple years now.
Like I'm
not
gonna
gonna lie to you.
I'm gonna be honest. Like when I used to watch guys like John Wall shoot threes when
Oh
defenders
my
go under
God, he
screens.
was
That's
so
bad
bad.
There's a
basketball.
reason they're going under,
Yeah.
sir. You can't shoot.
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
He was bad for midi too. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
I'm
He
not
wasn't
gonna
good
lie.
in
I
shooting.
understand the idea of if a defender's going under, you have to punish them by being able to make the shot. But also, they're going under because you can't shoot. You're giving
Mars,
them
let me
what they
explain
want.
this
They
first.
want you to shoot
Let
that
me
shot.
get off a quote unquote 3-point shooter with Ben. Where on the floor is Ben Simmons proficient offensively as a scorer?
In terms of scoring, 5 feet
Inside the paint, bro. Yeah,
5 feet in it.
About 4 feet.
About 2 feet.
Question two. Where offensively scoring is Zion effective?
In the paint, like 2 feet, 3 feet in. But guess
You
what?
see-
His
you see how
motor
he
is
can still
way
be-
higher
yeah,
than Ben
yeah.
Simmons, though.
So you see how you can.
But that is the point.
You're making my point.
That's the point we're trying to make.
The issue isn't that Ben Simmons can't shoot. The issue is that he doesn't want to score.
Because
all of us
he
agree
won't.
with you. No, all of us agree with you that
Yeah,
Ben Simmons
you're right.
isn't an aggressive scorer. We all agree. Where we disagree is that you think he needs to take jump shots.
Not all the time, but bro, like there's just some situations where it's like good ball movement, like bro, just I don't know, bro. I don't know.
I get what you're saying. There's like I've seen it before, and it's like I'm gonna go back to Draymond Green because it's a good comparison.
Right.
Like there's times where Golden State's offense will run and Draymond Green is wide open at the top of the key. Like clearly that's the best shot you're gonna get.
Yeah,
in that
shoot
position.
it.
Like
shoot
that,
it.
you're not gonna get anything else. Like that's the possession has deemed that this
That's
is
what I
you're gonna
mean.
have.
Ben Simmons
won't
the
take
shot.
those ones.
No,
I
he
get
doesn't
it.
take those.
I get it, but like if he does take it,
How often are you getting those
It's
shots?
not a big deal. That's what I'm trying to tell you, football. It's not a big
that would
deal.
maybe be 1-3 a game or one every other.
like,
That's what I'm
that's
saying,
not
bro.
happening
Like,
that often.
no,
when you just
but, like,
And
you
he's
know,
never
wide
gonna
open.
make it, so it's not like he's leaving points on the board. Like we know he wouldn't make it if he shot.
Like to
so.
me, I think the Draymond Green comparison is disrespectful to Draymond Green, bro. To be honest, like
Let me
Draymond
see
Green's
that
a
guy
far
is.
superior offensive like shooter than Ben Simmons, or not just
He is
scorer.
Football, I promise you. Football, I promise you. His shooting does not make him. Is not the main reason why he's over the top better offensively than Ben Simmons. It's not.
Draymond from like 2017 to like 2022 was not shooting the ball like at all.
Like,
dude.
come on, bro.
He
It's not
refused to
that.
take shots and like
No,
certain series.
I think Mars had a great point. Like when it comes to shorter players, it's worse. Like when Russell Westbrook's at the top of the key and Draymond Green's in the paint, like just like guarding Kawhi, like helping on Kawhi and stuff. Like yeah, you're 6'3", you got to shoot that shot. Like you're not bringing enough value in other places for you not to be able to shoot.
And that's why Chris Paul at this point of his career is a liability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just wish Ben
he's
Simmons had a
6'4".
better post game if he's not going to take like open shots.
We agree with you. We agree with you.
Like that's it.
Every Chris Paul jumper is short. That's what's happening.
Football wants every large forward to be like LeBron. That's what he wants.
What does that have to do with? I never mentioned LeBron.
Because your hate for Giannis is the complete opposite of what you're saying right now. But go ahead,
I don't hate Giannis. I'm telling the
Can I read
truth.
some super chats? Can I read some super chats? Yes.
Let's get some
They're
super
not
chats
getting
on
back to the
board.
finals. That's all I said.
Can I read some super chats?
My bad.
Okay. Pimp named Slickback. He said, we also have to acknowledge, too, that there's a gambling element. Even the best scouting departments miss on elite prospects. Happens every year. Yes, I agree. You're never going to know everything about a prospect. I think there's some prospects where it's pretty obvious what they were going to be. And some, I think some front offices overthink things. If I'm honest, I do genuinely think they just overthink things.
Yeah.
For example, if I were to think about it, Chet Holmgren not being the number 1 pick, I think was them just overthinking. I think they just overthink.
That was the K draft.
Mars,
No,
man.
that was the Paolo draft, and I think
I like
Paolo's
Paolo though. I like
I
Paolo.
like
Paolo's
Paolo
great,
too,
bro.
but I think
Paolo's
Chet
great.
Holmgren was so clearly the best prospect in that class.
But
I
they
still
were
think
so,
Paolo can be better. I'm not
they
gonna
were
cap.
so concerned about the weight, so concerned about his ability to play
rightfully
against
so. He got
NBA
injured the first time he stepped on
which
a
is
court with a pro
fine,
player.
which is fine. But when there's such, in my opinion, such a clear gap in terms of who the better prospect is, Chet
I
not
think
being
Paolo
the
could
number
be
1
better.
pick,
I'm not gonna lie. Still,
Chet
I
not being the
still
number 1
have
pick was
faith.
just them overthinking it. In my
I have
opinion.
a question. What do you think about? What do you think about teams?
I think the only reason he wasn't number 1 is because they overthought it. In my opinion.
What do you think about? What do you think about teams like drafting for fit instead of like the best player? Like, what do you think about that?
It makes
I
sense.
think that's fine depending on the team.
If you have your franchise player, and then the best player available in the draft plays the same position as your franchise player, I'm fine with you drafting for fit.
Okay.
But if you have no franchise player and you're drafting for fit, you've lost your mind.
Like, also, if you have the first overall pick and you're not going to draft the best player, trade the pick.
Right.
Oh yeah, I agree.
No.
Yes.
It depends on the draft. It depends on the draft.
Depends. It really depends on the draft.
Like if you're
no, I mean, don't end up with Anthony Bennett. Just
I don't care. No. I'm saying
Amir.
imagine.
I'm saying that it depends on the draft. It depends.
It depends on the draft. Like if Wemby, like say if Trae Young was on the Spurs, the Spurs would still pick Wemby number 1. Period.
If you're the Wizards this year and you don't draft the shooting guard because you have Jordan Poole, you're out of your mind.
If you're a team with no franchise player, you take the best player available every time. The Wizards have no reason to have Alex Sarr available and say, you know what, Daniel Gafford, we believe in you. No, you take Alex Sarr. You take Alex.
I mean, if your team can't get more than 12 wins, yeah, you should probably draft.
Like the Pistons. If you get the number 1 pick, I don't care if you have Jalen Duren, James Wiseman, Isaiah Stewart. You take Alex Sarr. I'm sorry, you have to. I'm not.
I don't know. Ron Holland might be a good fit for them.
The reason I was asking,
you don't take Ron Holland with the number 1.
Not a Ron Holland, man.
You trade down. You do what Danny Ainge did, and you trade down. I'm fine with that. You trade down, but you don't use the number 1 pick.
If y'all want it off, I'll take it off.
Is the Warriors drafting James Wiseman instead of LaMelo because like they needed a big? What did you like? You still think like in hindsight, of course, we can see James Wiseman didn't pan out, but back then. I know, but back then, what would you have done? Would you have drafted LaMelo?
I said if I was the Warriors, I say this all the time. If I was the Warriors, because I didn't believe in James Wiseman coming in, what I would have done was trade down, and the 2 players I was looking at was Tyrese Halliburton and Denny Avdija. They would have
no Bagley.
I would have taken. In what year?
Bagley
wasn't in the same year. No,
Bagley was 2018.
Oh, my bad.
Hey, Bagley is another one where the Kings.
No, that was France. That was Wagner. Wagner was in that.
That's why I say. That's why I say. This is in 2020. I'm not saying I hit on every draft pick. Like there was obviously better players than Denny Avdija in the draft at the time. But if I was the Warriors, what I would have done was trade down for either Tyrese Halliburton or Denny Avdija. That's what I would have done.
And the Warriors had their own Tyrese.
Denny Avdija had tremendous feel for the game when he was coming in. Played pro overseas. Was a better shooter than what he probably has been in the NBA so far.
He's
shooting pretty good this year. The defense was there, the connective passing, the IQ, had a little decent post game as well. Like Denny Avdija was a good prospect to me that the Warriors would have liked. So I would have went. And Tyrese Halliburton was the second best passer in the draft, in my opinion. After LaMelo, Tyrese Halliburton was the second best passer in the draft. I believed in the jump shot translating. Personally, I believed in it. So I thought he could space the floor, and he was a tremendous passer. That's something Golden State would like. Now I didn't like LaMelo to Golden State because I think LaMelo had a higher ceiling than what Golden State could have done for him. So I'm fine with them not taking him. This is why I would have traded down. But they wanted to take James Wiseman, and I could have told them James Wiseman was not going to work.
I honestly would have traded the pick altogether. Instead of trading down, you could trade the pick for.
I don't agree with that.
But I don't know what was available for.
I think if James Wiseman was now. Let's say if it was a big that you thought it was going to pan out, right? I think taking a big at that, somebody's echoing. I don't know who it is, but I think if there was a big that we thought was going to pan out, them picking a big at that spot, I thought was perfectly fine. Because if James Wiseman really lived up to who he was supposed to be, then I think we're talking about the Warriors in a whole entire different light right now. But
that big didn't exist in the draft. That's the problem.
And that's fine. That's fine. My whole thing is, and the question with Ace 30 was like, like just pick picking the best available, or like what your team needs. In my head, if let's say if LaMelo was the best available, but if James Wiseman was a guy that I thought could work out, a guy that is he gonna be better than LaMelo? Probably not. But is he gonna be a serviceable crew and a serviceable best man for this for the team and the future of this team? Yeah. And I don't think that's a bad pick.
If there's a all-star, all-NBA ceiling player, and you take someone who can be serviceable with the number 2 pick, you're not doing your job.
Well, no, James Wiseman, I'm by serviceable, I meant like all-star level. All-NBA, probably not. But all-star level at the number 2 pick that people thought at the big, I don't think that's bad.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Warriors, I think the front office didn't do a good job drafting. Because I'm gonna be honest, if they really thought James Wiseman, after playing 3 games in college, basically being a high school center,
that's a whole different
that level of
discussion,
upsides, I think they were stupid. I think they took James Wiseman because he was pretty unanimously a top 3 prospect in the class. Coming out of high school, I think he was ranked number 1. So he was pretty unanimously like considered one of the top 3 prospects. And I think they just took him because he was the best big man prospect in the class. I don't think they did their due diligence. I'm sorry. There's no way I was aware of all the flaws James Wiseman has, and they weren't. There's no way.
And if you want to talk about the lack of insight on who James Wiseman really was, that's a completely different discussion. But if you got a guy where, sorry, I keep hiccuping, but like if you got Victor's an anomaly, but so I'm
Victor goes number 1 in every draft to ever exist.
Yeah, I can't even
no
say
team would ever pass on him.
Exactly. I can't say Victor, but let's say, oh my God, I'm trying to think of there hasn't been a lot of bigs that pan out, so it's kind of annoying right now. Because you got Joel, right?
Okay.
Let's say Joel was available at that spot, him coming up, and the Golden State Warriors take him. That's fine with me.
Yeah, but Joel's upside was far superior.
And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, though. Nah,
the only reason Joel wasn't probably the number 1 pick. Well, Andrew Wiggins was going number 1. The only reason it wasn't the number 2 pick is because of health concerns.
It's literally because of that, yeah. That's what I'm saying, Dub. If you were the Warriors, you're not gonna pick Embiid if he was available. He had injuries coming into the league.
I still would have picked him. The hell?
What?
Why wouldn't they have picked him?
Because
they coming off injuries.
They were trying to be. Yeah, they were trying to be. They thought James Wiseman was going to impact their team right away, which is why it was a dumb pick.
Yeah, I don't.
That's why that right there is why it was a dumb pick. They thought James Wiseman was ready to contribute to an NBA winning team. That made no sense. No sense at all. It's 0 sense. They were trying to be competitive because they thought they didn't. This was before Klay Thompson tore his Achilles. So was it? Yeah, before he tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
So they thought they were getting Klay Thompson back next year. Steph's gonna be back. Draymond's gonna be there. We need a big who can help us right away, get right back to championship contention. So you know what? Let's get this big right out of high school.
And it turns out they had that big on the roster the entire time.
So I can't really find a big man right now, but my argument is really on the surface of, and take the big man out of it. If there's a position that you think could be very serviceable for your crew, especially right now, and especially for the later years to come, to be an all-star level player. Sounds like somebody's snoring. Can you?
Yeah, I was going to say, somebody sleep.
Somebody's snoring or something. Your breath is all in the mic. But my whole point is, even though that there could be somebody better, if that guy's better suited for your team for now and probably in the future, I can understand why somebody's going to sit here and take that guy. Because like you said before, it's about finding those superstars and complimenting those superstars, right? So I'm not of the belief of we're just going to amass this talent around and keep trying to keep trying to find all of these superstars in the rough. Because then you find a scenario kind of like similar to the Houston Rockets where everyone's going to want to show out. Everyone's going to want to sit here, have the ball, and everyone's going to sit here and try to prove themselves when it's like, nah, it's not.
So you don't like the position we're in?
You said what?
You don't like the position we're in?
Now you guys are good, but because it seems like you guys are establishing more roles right now, but especially in the last few years, like bro, y'all was just
last few years.
Last few years,
I think our drafts have been spectacular.
I think your drafts have been good.
I think we made the right pick every single time.
Yeah, but my whole thing is there was moments where, especially with KPJ, Jalen Green there, and that's saying, huh?
We ain't draft KPJ. He was
I know you ain't drafting, but just amassing that much talent on a crew with guys really trying to be themselves and find themselves, it's kind of hard for people to establish a role when you got a bunch of people, young guys, trying to prove themselves in the league. You feel me?
Okay, yeah.
So if I'm drafting LaMelo 1 year, and then I'm drafting Luka, and then who's before? It was LaMelo after Luka. And then who's another guard, Mars?
Well, John Morant was in between both of those drafts.
So if I'm trying to get Luka, LaMelo, and John Morant all on the same team, like, bro, like that's crazy. Like, I don't see how that's gonna fit with each other because they all need to sit here and find themselves as NBA players.
I
agree. But that's why before you came, that's why I said if you already have like the future of your franchise in a certain position, like if you draft Luka in 2018. And anyone who watched Luka in Europe knows he should have been the number 1 pick, but he wasn't. That's besides the point. And then you get him. You see his rookie year. Okay, we have something special. In 2019 rolls around, and the Mavericks get the number 2 pick. I'm perfectly fine with them not taking John Morant. I understand them not taking John Morant. If they were to take RJ Barrett, I understand it because you already have the transcendent player in that position, so that makes sense. But when you're the Golden State Warriors. And you're like, okay, we got Steph. Klay Thompson's coming off an injury. We got Draymond Green. So what 2 positions are there in need? We just got Andrew Wiggins, who people are questioning. The last position is the big man position. I'm sorry, James Wiseman was not that answer. I understand why they took him. I think everyone understands why they took him. But it was just a dumb pick. What they could have done, trade the pick, which is common sense. Many teams were willing to offer up something valuable for that second pick. Or move down in the draft. I'm not going to lie. I wholeheartedly believe, and there's no proof of this, if James Wiseman didn't get picked number 2, I don't think he goes number 3. I think James Wiseman probably like the 5th pick in that draft. I genuinely believe that. I think other teams did their due diligence.
Yeah. Who were the other bigs in that draft?
Bigs?
Onyeka
Okongwu, Jalen Smith, Isaiah Stewart.
Poku, shout out Poku.
Poku's not a big. But yeah, in the first round it was Jalen Smith, Onyeka Okongwu.
There wasn't a lot of bigs in this draft. I'm not gonna lie.
It wasn't a big man draft class at all, and that's why
the
Warriors just scored that draft. They just made the wrong decision. That's what they just made.
Okay, I got you. Did you talk about what to look for in an NBA player?
Yes. Yeah, we've been speaking about that for practically the whole time. That's why I still got some Superchats to read because we've just been talking.
Oh, go ahead. Read Superchats, man.
So Drink More Water says, as you describe what you look for, can you name a player that displays those traits coming out? For example, I want guards to have fast defensive feet, and Lonzo had some of the fastest feet I've seen.
Poor Lonzo, man.
He's coming back next year, man. Shout out to my Bulls. You know what I'm saying?
Man, he is not going to be the same.
Y'all need to blow it up, man.
I'm hoping he's the same, but I have a he's going to be on Jonathan Isaac.
Hey, let's just let's
he's going to be maxed out at like 15 minutes, and it's cool.
Yeah, let's just not put any pressure on him, man. Let's just let him.
But any of the traits, the traits in terms of feel for the game that I look for, Luka was like the clear one. That's
a fundamental.
I'm not gonna lie, Luka not being the number 1 pick is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. I don't understand how anyone saw the 2018 draft class.
Who was number 1 pick again? DeAndre
Ayton? Yeah.
Yikes.
He went to Arizona, man. A hometown.
It makes no. That's one of the.
Mars. So the reason why that was because that was the last year, and from over here where we still were skeptical of the Euros. Unfortunately, that's what it was.
Yeah, that was basically it.
The fact that there was even questions of who the best prospects in the class was ridiculous. DeAndre Ayton to me wasn't even a top 3 pick, but that's besides the point. But him not being the number 1 pick was so dumb. That's why I say teams overthinking it. There's no way you pass on Luka. No way.
I want to ask you this. Because I was having this debate last night on Gridiron. I just want to know. I'm curious. What makes somebody a bust? Is somebody a guy in? Is DeAndre Ayton a bust? Number one.
He had some goody years. I'm not gonna lie.
He's not a bust.
I don't think can't call him a bust.
The
not a
last
bust.
number one pick that I would call a bust is Markel Fultz.
Yep, that's fine with me.
And then before that, Anthony. And I think it's unfortunate that Markel's.
So what makes somebody?
He wasn't gonna be. He is.
What makes somebody a bust? Because I was arguing with Trent, and he was saying, I think every bust is somebody who didn't live up to their expectation. But I do think that, let's say if somebody's expectations is so high, but they're still valuable in a sense, but they just haven't met those expectations, I don't classify them as a bust.
Andrew Wiggins?
Yeah,
Ben Simmons.
He called
Ben
Andrew
Simmons.
Wiggins a bust. He called Andrew.
No, Ben Simmons is a perfect example.
Ben Simmons is a bust.
Ben Simmons is not a bust. I don't care what you say.
He's a bust. To me,
No, it's to you because, like I said, you compare all your forwards to LeBron.
But you said you didn't even expect him to be good.
Bringing this shit up.
Yeah,
This
but
shit is
you
weird, bro.
Because you just said because based on what you said, football. You said it earlier. Football, you said it earlier. No, I'm gonna mind what you said. You said based off the expectations Ben Simmons had in comparison he had coming to the league. That's why he underachieved.
That was literally 20 minutes into the combo, and of course, that's
yes.
I don't.
Heard, right?
You know what? I'm not big.
My thing with you is if you said earlier you knew Ben Simmons wasn't going to be what other people were calling him. You said that.
I
So
said
if you so if you didn't think he was going to be that, how is he a bust
to you?
Because the general consensus was different.
I can't call someone a bust based on other people's opinions.
No.
But they were just wrong. They were just wrong.
That'd be like me having an opinion of an album saying it's not a classic, but everyone else thinks it's a classic. What am I supposed to do?
It's not a classic.
It's not a classic.
It's not a classic.
If everyone else
I can't say someone's a bust if they did what I expected them to do.
Well, where did Ben Simmons get drafted?
Number one.
He was one.
So he's a bust then.
He was
definitely not a bust.
in that draft though.
He didn't
definitely not a
want
bust.
draft spot.
Is Ben Simmons better, worse, or just as good as you thought he would be?
Well, he's just as good because he hasn't done shit.
So how's he a bust?
So
if this is what you thought
how's he a bust? If he met your expectations.
He met your expectations.
He met your expectations.
But he didn't meet
and that's what I'm saying.
the
How is he a bust
expectations.
to you if he met your expectations?
No, he's a bust because he got drafted number one. If he got drafted 20th, that's
Who were
different.
you drafting over him in that draft?
You guys are being this is semantics, bro. He's a bust.
Well, it's not semantic. But the reason why I have a different definition of bust, for me, I don't know how to explain it, but if you get drafted to a team, so we can use Ben Simmons as an example. Why not? Ben Simmons gets drafted to the Sixers. If Ben Simmons were to get drafted by the Sixers and then not be great, and then get traded and then turn out great, that pick's still a bust, in my opinion. Because he didn't do the team that picked him didn't get the value for him. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
they used the pick on him and he's providing the value elsewhere.
Yeah.
We're the ones who wasted the pick. So the pick didn't work out for us.
But are you saying?
Does that make sense?
Are you saying that would mean he was a
The
bust?
pick's a bust. The pick is a bust.
The pick's a bust. Okay.
I can't say the pick wasn't a bust because you went and
Sabonis
provided
pick for
value
OKC?
elsewhere. When
So
I'm
Wiggins
the one
was
who
a bust.
drafted you.
And he's getting paid a lot of
So
money.
Wiggins was a bust for you.
Yeah, the Cavs, if they view getting Kevin Love as terms of value for the pick, then no, he's not a bust.
Oh
If
no,
that's
no.
how they- if that's
he
how
can't be a
Minnesota.
bust if they
What about
traded him
Minnesota?
over. Like he didn't even play a game in Cleveland. He can't be a bust because they
No, but
traded him.
I'm saying
for Kevin
the
Love.
reason why Wiggins wouldn't be a bust for the Cavs is because they got value for Wiggins.
Yeah,
they
yeah.
got Kevin Love and that
Minnesota. Is he a bust for Minnesota?
Yes, he didn't provide value for. They got rid of their franchise player and got Andrew Wiggins, who didn't do much for them. That's a bust. That's a number one pick. You traded a franchise guy, got a number one pick, and got that. That's a bust.
But
him being valuable in Golden State, how does that benefit the Timberwolves?
Okay, so Ben
Because
Simmons is not
D'Angelo
a bust. So Ben Simmons is not a bust because he provided value to the Sixers.
Yeah, he provided plenty of value.
How much value?
Yeah, but then you could argue.
He was a decoy candidate. He was one of the best defenders in the
there
league.
for 5 years.
I mean,
But I wouldn't.
Yeah, that
call
makes
him a
sense.
bust, no. I wouldn't call him.
That makes sense. Because like the average NBA career is about 5 years. So yeah, you got the most valuable out of him for 5 years. Yeah, that don't make him a bust.
Yeah, so like that's how I'm viewing a bust. Like if I'm like, it's the same way if you ask me who the best number one pick is. It's not about who the best player getting drafted number one was. It's who provided the most value for that pick. Which is why to me, Tim Duncan is easily the best number one pick of all time. because what he did to the
Not
Spurs.
LeBron.
Nah,
because what
LeBron
LeBron
left.
gave the Cavs was what Tim Duncan gave the Spurs, the teams that drafted him. Tim Duncan provided way more value for a number one pick, in my opinion. But LeBron James is exponentially, well, not exponentially, much better than Tim Duncan, much better. But as a number one pick, it's why I don't rate Shaq very highly as a number one pick. It was 4 years, and then he left. Like that's not a tremendously valuable number one pick to me. So that's
a new way. That's a new way.
So how many? I've never heard anybody rank it like that. Let me ask you this: Who's better number one overall picks over Shaq?
Like in the last few years.
I mean, let me just remember number one picks. Okay. So let's just go back. So Magic Johnson a better number one pick. Kareem is a better number one pick.
Yep.
I'm gonna start with Kareem. I'm not going all the way back to the 50s. I'm sorry. Hakeem's a better number. I was thinking about James Worthy. I don't know how I feel about James Worthy. James Worthy probably is a better number one pick. James Worthy's a better number one pick. Bill Russell?
No,
Bill Russell was number 2.
He got traded.
Bill Russell got drafted number 2.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Who got drafted?
So due to this little criteria, would David Robinson be a better number one overall pick than Shaq?
Probably.
Yeah, David Robinson is a better number one pick than Shaq. Yeah.
What about Anthony Davis?
I think Patrick Ewing's a better number one pick than Shaq.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh wow,
that's a great one.
I'm mad I'm not clipping anymore. I'm not.
No, I think Shaq is a better number one pick than AD.
Yeah,
what about
I
AD?
think so too.
I think Shaq over AD.
Yeah, Shaq probably got to
Tim Duncan, obviously. LeBron's a better number one pick than Shaq. I think Dwight Howard is Orlando's best number one pick.
You're so lucky. You're so lucky. I'm not clipping this.
What about Kyrie?
Like you're
what about Kyrie?
Extremely lucky, bro.
Kyrie a better number one pick than Shaq?
No.
No.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then none of these more recent ones. None of them. Yeah.
Well, Victor's gonna overshadow.
Yeah, Victor will be obviously. And I'm not saying any of these guys are better than Shaq was in Orlando. I'm just saying they provided more value to the team that drafted them than Shaq did, leaving him free agency after 4 years. That's it. Because it's not even like they got anything back for him. He just left.
Crazy. Not getting anything back for Shaq.
They drafted Shaq, and then 4 years later they lost him. Like how much value? Yes, he got to the finals. Cool. Yes, he turned a franchise around. Cool. But other people did that too and were there for a decade plus, 12 years. Finals appearance for Patrick Ewing. Hakeem got 2 rings. Kareem got a ring and was there for 7 years. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Dwight was in Orlando for 7 years, I think.
I mean, Kyrie 7 years, I think.
7. To answer your question. I think I got a different take on bust. I think we as fans put the wrong blame on players when it comes to bust. I think GMs should take the majority of the blame for being the bust.
Why?
Because it's their job. Like as a player, no matter how well you do it at the amateur level, no matter what your interviews or workout go on, at the end of the day, you can't control when you get drafted. So if I'm a guy like Wes Unseld, and we rarely get the number one pick in the Wizards, and I waste my number one pick on Kwame Brown, you're the bust. Kwame couldn't help who he was. You waste our number one pick. We don't get these often. That's how I see it.
Do you think that's who Kwame was, or was just a bad situation?
Nah, that's who Kwame Brown was.
Yeah, both. I think it was both because if you they did a scouting report on what he was. He didn't keep himself in shape. Like they call like when you try to push yourself in workouts and like in practices, you literally have what you call exercise asthma, which simply means you're not conditioned enough to be playing at this level. So it was both.
Is Greg Oden a bust? Like, do you blame Portland for taking Greg Oden?
I don't.
No, that's like stuff like that. That's just you get injured. Like people can't like Sam Bowie, like Ralph Sampson, those guys who got like crazy career-ending injuries. No, I don't blame anybody. That's just
what about Derrick Rose? Is Derrick Rose a bust?
No.
So I asked somebody that.
I was gonna say you better watch your mouth
because people be including injuries. People be including injuries, right? In their definition of what classifies somebody's bust, because there's a multitude of people that say Greg Oden's a bust. So in my head, like Derrick Rose would have to be a bust too.
Yeah, if you
consider injuries are not a bust.
I'll say this. I think the pick is a bust. I think the pick is a bust, but I don't think the player's a bust.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Portland's clearly made the wrong pick, but I don't think Greg Oden, the player, is a bust because he never got to play. That's just unfortunate. But the pick is a bust. Portland's got a number 1 pick and wasted it.
I think it's foul.
So is Derrick Rose a bust? Because my whole thing is
Derrick Rose still provided tremendous value for Chicago
for how long?
That's a fact.
7, 8 years.
That's a fact.
So like 20s.
That's
Derrick
a
Rose.
fact.
So he came as a rookie.
Derrick Rose is not a bust, bro.
Derrick Rose came in. He was a very good player. Rookie year. Was he rookie of the year? I think he was, right?
Let me check. Let me check.
I think he was
rookie.
Yeah, he was rookie year.
Rookie of the year. Yep.
And then the next year, already an all-star level player. I don't know if he made the all-star team, but he was already an all-star level player. Then MVP level season already. Then the next year, playing at an all-star level, gets hurt in the postseason, which is unfortunate, but is still an all-star level player. Then 2013, I don't think he plays, or if he does play, it's very little, right?
2014, he doesn't play.
He missed all that year.
And then so then you missed the 2 years in between where injuries. Cool. 2015 with Jimmy Butler now winning most improved player. I think that's the year he won it.
Yep.
The Bulls are a very good team again.
Hit the shot.
Derrick Rose is still a pretty good player in 2015.
No,
pretty good, bro.
Yes.
No, he hit that shot in playoffs.
No. Bro, he's not a bust. Derrick Rose is not.
You don't think Derrick Rose in 15 was a pretty good player?
He was
not all-star caliber. He's a pretty good player.
He's not a bust.
He was
bro.
solid.
Bust is like you're terrible.
He wasn't pretty good to me,
league, bro. He's not a bust.
Derrick Rose, because Derrick
Rose not pretty good to you?
Because without his athleticism, I think the postseason. Let me check right here. I think even the postseason was bad for him. Like,
was he not good in 2016 in the postseason?
2016
against the Cavs and stuff. Was he not good?
No, 2015. That's 2015. He hit that game winner, but he wasn't great, and he wasn't great in the postseason. In the regular season, he wasn't great as well. Him having to rely more on jump shots because his athleticism wasn't what it was anymore. Really hurt his game. And that season right there, I mean, he was 17 a game on 40 and 28. Like, that's crazy to me. Now, I do think he was probably a good ball handler for that crew still, but he just wasn't.
That's not a bust, though. That's just.
But he was no. We're
all I said
talking
was he was
about
a pretty good player. I mean, semantics, I guess.
Yeah, he wasn't moving me, honestly. Like that.
That's fine.
Rose wasn't.
I wouldn't consider that a bust,
right?
But I wouldn't consider it a great pick.
But Mars. But this is my thing, right? And this was the point I was telling Trent, because he was saying if you don't live up to your expectations and you get hurt, you're a bust. So in my head, I'm like, all right, if you have in that state of mind,
then Derrick Rose would have to be a bust by that.
He has to be.
By logic, yeah.
Even though he won an MVP, Derrick Rose, at the end of the day, had 3 solid good years of being a top 10 caliber player. Everything outside of that was underwhelming, and he was hurt.
What if he won a ring in 2011?
He's still a bust.
How?
No way.
Wait,
no way.
So Bill is a bust?
Bill Walton?
Yeah.
To me, I don't rank it like that. Me personally,
would he have to be a bust based on this logic in your mind?
I think based off of that logic, he needs to be a bust too. I would assume.
So for not to be a bust, you need to give like 10 years of good play, I guess.
Yeah, no, but I don't know the standard. I don't know your standard.
Not even 10 years, bro. But you were supposed to be this great tier of caliber player, so much expectations, and then at the end of the day, you want to say injuries. Sure, injuries got there to the point where you could never live up to that. And
I mean, did anyone expect Derrick Rose to win MVP in his 3rd year?
Hell no.
Nobody did. Everybody expected him to be good. Like, everybody expected him to be good.
I think if you're a number 1 pick and you bring the team a championship, I don't think you can be a bust.
Impossible.
He's not
because a championship.
Even if you bring a championship in the first season and you never play again,
right?
The pick was worth
it. That's fine with me.
It was worth it. It's priceless.
Okay, if it's a championship, that's cool because the team.
I never said Len Bias was a bust.
The crazy part is,
and I stand on that.
The crazy part is, like, y'all think I'm saying Derrick Rose is a bust. I'm not saying he is. Like, I don't rank it like that.
Trent would have had to say he was.
Trent would have had to say that. That's what I'm saying. People who value that MVP bust like that should be saying things like this. I don't think any of them are busts because I don't.
But I would have asked Trent or anybody with that perspective, like, okay, when you say expectations, are you talking about expectations of the masses or your personal expectations?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If people expect Wemby to be the GOAT, and then you end up hearing takes like
That's what I asked him. You know what's
he
so
ends up
funny?
being Hakeem. He's
His
a
floor
bust.
is
Like,
Hakeem.
Yo,
That's
Mars,
crazy.
Mars,
like,
I asked him. I said, "All right, cool. If Victor Wembanyama doesn't finish, who is typing?
Yo, somebody is typing an essay, bro.
Hard as hell."
Yes.
I asked Trent. I was like, "Yo, if Victor doesn't finish as a top 10 player, and he finishes as top 50 all time, is he a bust?" And he told me yes.
No.
That's insane.
I was just sitting there like, bro, there's no way we're doing this. I don't understand that. And I don't understand just because my whole thing
that's
is
his expectations. Remember, that's
to me.
But Dezo, at that point, you're disregarding
a bust to me.
You're disregarding all the work the player put in because he's not meeting your expectations. That's the point.
Yeah, my whole thing is a bust for me is simple. If you are like a high pick, a lottery pick, and everything, and you are so bad to the point where you shouldn't even be in the league, bro, that's when you're a bust to me. Now, if you're getting hurt, that's something that you can't control. So I don't even use that against you. But if you are sitting here so bad with your level of play where you should not even be in the league at all, nah, you're a bust. Bennett's a bust.
Hakeem to beat.
Hakeem to beat bust.
Hakeem to beat for real, bro.
Alex Len's a bust too.
Mars, is Jalen Green on his way to becoming a bust?
Someone doesn't watch the Houston Rockets.
Have you seen him the last 5 games? Hold on, buddy. That's like 30 a game.
I don't know what bust averaged 29 and 8 over a 5-game stretch.
God.
Find me one bust who did that. Find me a bust.
That's insane. That's actually
Find me a bust who did that.
But yeah, so that's my definition of a bust. It's mainly have to do with how you're performing on the court. Like James Wiseman, he's a bust actually. Like he's clearly a bust. He has to be.
Not according to Mars, because he always thought he was bad. So
that's a fact.
Yeah, I didn't think he'd still be unplayable, but yeah. Go ahead.
Also, do NBA teams sleep on these 4-year college players? I think recently teams are starting to draft 4-year guys, but NBA teams draft off potential too much versus fit and helping out right away from drink more water.
I don't think if you're a lottery team, I don't think you should ever take a 4-year player. Unless like you're a lottery team, like if you like when the Warriors lost in the play, that type of lottery team where they took Moses Moody with that pick, I understand that. And I'm not saying Moses Moody's a 4-year player. I'm just saying if they were to take a 4-year player there, that makes sense. But if you're a top 7 team in the draft, winning 26 games, and you take a 4-year player, I don't get it.
There's just so many.
The Pacers took Chris Duarte. I don't know why they did that. That's a waste of a pick. That's a stupid pick.
Basketball is a global game. So the way prospects the best prospects don't have to go to college anymore, and probably don't even necessarily stay in college that long if they do go to college. So there's other pro leagues. So it's just more fractured. Like a 4-year player is not as valuable as it was 30 years ago.
I mean, Miami hit it out the park with Jaime Jaquez, So that's,
outside the lottery teams like that, where you're trying to be competitive, take someone who can contribute to winning right now. Makes sense. But Keegan Murray wasn't 4 years. I think he was 2. I think I might be wrong. I think he was 2 because I think Chris Murray was 3 years. But like when the Pacers took Chris Duarte, he was 24 as a rookie. Why would you do that? It's why I hated when the Pelicans took Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield was a 22-year-old rookie. I think he turned 23 in his rookie season.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's stupid. And you took him with a 6th pick. It's why I didn't like the Chris Dunn pick. Chris Dunn was, I think, the 5th pick. Why would you take number 5, a 22-year-old point guard who still can't shoot? Why would you do that? Yeah. Like, those picks don't make sense to me. But if you want to take a late lottery pick on a 21-year-old, I'm fine with that. But 22, 23?
Is Otto Porter Jr. a bust?
Hell yeah.
When did he get drafted?
Right? He's an injury, isn't it?
Injuries, right?
Where did he get drafted?
Yeah. Washington.
I mean, injuries like because he was playing.
Oh yeah, he was a top 4 pick, right?
He was playing a lot. Yeah, he was a top 3.
Jeez.
So like he was playing. What? Well, he got hurt in 2019.
No, he was dealing with injuries before that. But I don't think he ever missed
playing
like
through
seasons.
Yeah, he didn't miss games like that, except for his rookie year.
But he was always injury prone. But I think Otto Porter Jr. was a good player. He just wasn't. I don't know how to explain it. He just wasn't. I don't know what they expected him to be.
The expectations for him was to be an all-star wing. You know, like that was the expectation.
That was
they were pairing him up with Bradley Beal and John Wall for him to be that slashing all-star wing, but he didn't.
Victor Oladipo bust?
No.
For the Magic, yes. For the Magic,
yeah.
Yeah, for Orlando, I mean, they got Serge
he only had
Ibaka.
like one good year in Indiana, to be honest with you. Like,
yeah, his is another. That's another unfortunate career due to injury.
Wasn't that injury though? He was on the roll. Injury related.
Hey, when we talk
he
about
went to OKC and was like fine too, but like I don't know.
Yeah, and Orlando only got Serge Ibaka back for him. And Serge Ibaka was on a 1-year deal, so they lost Serge right away. Like that's a bad deal for Orlando. They got a number 2 pick, lost him for basically nothing. That's a bust of a pick for them.
I ain't gonna lie.
Orlando's another team. They kept messing up people. They messed up Aaron Gordon. They didn't use Oladipo correctly. I don't even think they zone. You're right. Orlando didn't zone. They were messing up the whole decade.
That's funny. Last one for Biggs. How you move up and down the court is huge for me. Guys like Ayton and Giannis now move like guards while still effective. Marc Gasol and the Lopez's move like glaciers.
Yeah, that's starting to go away.
Mobility for sure.
Yeah.
That's why so many people are intrigued by Alex Sarr. Mobility.
Alex Sarr is gonna be good.
He's not as good as Chet or Wemby, but yeah.
He's gonna be good though.
Would you have drafted MKJ that high at the time?
MKG. Michael could go.
MKG. Oh my God.
Probably not.
Michael,
but I mean,
was
back then is when 4-year college players made sense. Like early 2010s. Like that's where you probably were like, maybe take Dame. But I will say I don't think Michael Kidd-Gilchrist should have gone number 2.
Well, he's a bust for me. And Thomas Robinson.
Who went number 1 in that draft?
AD.
Oh, okay.
That was the draft with Beal.
Yeah, AD was like everyone knew it was the sweepstakes for AD. If you got the number 1 pick, you were getting AD. Yeah. Then after that,
it made sense. It made sense why MKG went top 5 though. It made sense if you saw what we did in college that year.
You know,
Anthony Davis.
I think it was.
I'm not gonna lie. Do y'all remember Shabazz Muhammad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who apparently lied about his age.
I didn't know that. I thought Shabazz Muhammad was going to be nice, man, but he didn't turn out to be anything.
Wasn't that Thon Maker who lied about his age?
Apparently something about Shabazz too. Apparently he said he was 21 coming in. Rumor is he was like 23, 24. Rumor. I don't know if it's been substantiated. It might just be a racist rumor.
Is what's his name? Jabari? What's his name? Jabari Parker.
He got injured.
He'd have to.
His knee injury
yeah.
But he wasn't like as a player, he was very good. But the injuries kind of derailed everything. I think he tore his ACL twice.
Yeah. He's gained a lot of weight.
I remember like the Giannis and him comps, like the projections of the future is gonna be crazy. And then
that's what happened. That's what happens when you hoop on these Chicago streets, bro. All of our courts are made out of concrete.
Man,
no, that's real talk.
That landing shit is tough, you know.
Right.
I don't know. A lot of Chicago players, they got bad, they have a lot of legs.
They got bad everything, bro.
That's the thing.
Yeah, the health department in Chicago is terrible. I'm not gonna hold you. y'all don't know how to take care of y'all players. If you get drafted in Chicago, you might as well just sit out. My God.
It's a miracle Anthony Davis has lasted this long. You know what I'm saying? It's a miracle.
He's out tonight too. That's the sad part.
That's the Hawks.
I don't know why they played him against Houston though. I hate my team so much.
They thought they had a free win. No, sir.
Off of back-to-back, they played him, but they're gonna sit him tonight. It's gonna be amazing.
Libin Ahmad. Giannis is Ben Simmons with confidence. That's just so disrespectful.
No,
right.
Ben Simmons is such a clear better defender than Giannis.
Facts.
Kyrie played 11 games that Duke.
Allegedly.
He was basically drafted off high school. Wiseman had huge upside out of high school. Wiseman on Golden State is a tough sell, though.
Kyrie was hooping at Duke. Those 11 games.
There was such a clear difference in feel for the game and understanding of the game between James Wiseman and Kyrie.
And Kyrie had moments at Duke, man.
Like James Wiseman clearly didn't understand the game. Clearly, Kyrie did. He just got hurt. James Wiseman didn't, and then got shut down because he took money under the table to go to Memphis. Completely different situation.
Allen Iverson is a better number one than Shaq. Do you count what the player did for the organization as a whole, like awareness and money wise? From Ballers Intel.
Not really. I mean, if I really thought about it in depth, I'm sure I'd probably factor in, but just like thinking about it on the fly, probably not. But yeah, AI did bring more in his 9 years in Philly than Shaq in his 4 years in Orlando, in my opinion.
Is Westbrook a better number one pick than Shaq?
Well, he was number 4.
Oh, no, he was number one pick. Was he better pick than Shaq? I don't know why I thought about that. But.
Yeah. It's hard. Like, I'm sorry, 4 years and then losing me for nothing. That's not a great number one pick. Like, at all. That's not a great number one pick.
Russ was averaging triple doubles, man. And he made it to the finals.
Yeah, 4 years is not.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't like this. I mean, I understand it. I'm just not a fan of this take. I'm not gonna lie, Mars.
Yeah, but I'm not like I don't know. I'm not saying Shaq's a bad pick. Like, he was the right pick, but I'm saying for the organization, they didn't get a bunch of value. They didn't get great value out of the pick. That's what I'm saying. Like, the pick wasn't.
I hear you.
Worth it. It just wasn't a great pick.
Yeah, I just don't like
your
that.
First final appearance is not worth.
I don't like that twist on it.
Finals appearance.
Yo, Mars, you ready to be watching some old head basketball?
Yeah, what? Go ahead. What are we watching on Playback?
Oh yeah, who y'all debunking today?
So I was thinking of, you had discussions about, two things. You had discussions about Magic Johnson playing the 5. I remember you was having debates about that. So I was thinking, you know what, that'll probably be a good way to start this off. We rewatched Magic Johnson in that finals game, playing the center position.
Oh, guarding Caldwell Jones, yeah.
Guarding Caldwell Jones, and when we could all watch it together. I was thinking watching the 1971 Bullets versus the Buck. Was 71 or 72? I always confuse it. 71 Bucks versus Bullets, and watch how Kareem was just dominating a 6'7" Wes Unseld.
So we're really using this to hate on the old gen. Okay.
No,
we're just watching the games, man.
I like
dude, you proven chill, right, Doug?
Research, man. Research
when
purposes
y'all talk
only.
about eye test, people be saying, "Oh, I saw this." Now y'all can watch it together, and y'all can.
And that's the thing, like y'all want.
I mean,
to watch it
you guys get to see Magic Johnson guard Caldwell Jones and really just trap Darryl Dawkins every time he gets the ball in the post. If you call that playing the 5, I mean, I guess, but.
Because people be talking about, eye test. Well, now y'all get to watch together and y'all can analyze at the same time. I think this will be good to dispel some discrepancies people have in certain players.
Also, are we gonna watch Larry Bird score 12 points with his left hands against the Blazers?
We could watch the legendary games that's happened in the past and see if it's facts or cap, man. And we could see if it's nostalgia.
We need to watch some John Stockton playmaking. That's what we really need to.
We could do a lot. I mean, Mars, we're gonna be doing this. We have a long season, bro. So we could be doing this. We're gonna get down to the facts of these NBA players.
Yeah, Dub, you gotta start making a list now.
Yeah, make sure if you haven't joined us on Playback, the link is in the description to join us on Playback, where we get to actually watch the film without risking copyright. So people can't just say anything without proof. Because if they say something, we gonna fact check them right there on the spot.
All right, so Mars,
right there on the
what
spot.
So Mars, in your opinion, what is the what's the most delusional take that can easily be disproved by film? Like a take that like a lot of old heads say that when you watch the game or the film that is completely a lie. What's the first one that comes to your mind?
Well, the first one is John Stockton being an all-time great playmaker. That's instantaneously gets disproven the moment you start watching the Utah Jazz.
Isaiah Thomas could shoot.
The second one, the
defense
second one
has to be defense.
The second one that's easiest to debunk is that 90s defense was just so 80s and 90s defense was just so physical.
It's clear.
That's not true. The only defense like there were physical defenses. The Knicks, physical. Oh my god, the Knicks were killing people. But when you were just randomly going to play Dallas in '94, I promise you were chilling. I promise you were fine. That's also not true. What else is true? What else is so easy to debunk?
Someone said shooting is worse, pretty much.
Oh well, yeah, but I don't even think the only person I've ever heard say shooting back then was like close was when Elder said Larry Bird could have been the greatest shooter of all time if he played today. What else is there? What else? What other bad takes have we heard though from the old generation?
I'm trying to remember. I'm drawing a blank here. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I remember watching games in the early 70s where every foul was free throws. That was
right.
Well, that was fun.
That was interesting.
Yeah, or touch fouls didn't happen in the 80s or 90s. It was just a lie.
Yeah.
I would say like how the league in the past was just so much bigger than the league today. Like I said, maybe the 80s and 90s is cool, but the league before then, they were pretty much the same height as people today.
Oh, you know what I find funny? How like people today, like the old people of today, like hate on this era and say like this era is not good, blah blah blah. Teams of the past or players of the past were so much better. I seen recently an interview of Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell talking about the game in the 90s. You know what Wilt Chamberlain said?
Well, yeah,
in the game of the 90s, I'd average like 70 points a game if they let me just go.
You seen that clip too? I seen that too.
Yeah. If they let me just go 1-on-1 because of illegal defense and I couldn't get doubled and triple teamed, I'd average 70 points a game. I'd dominate even more now because the game is so catered. He said word for word, the game in the 90s is so catered towards the offense. And what do I have to hear the old heads say today? Oh, back in the 90s is when they favored the defense. The game was you were allowed to play defense. But what's Wilt Chamberlain complaining about? The game being catered for the offense in the 90s. Turns out that's all people just complain about. The new generation always just favors the offense, no matter what.
You know,
so that was
Dub, you know what it is?
Saying, I'm yet to see a team better than my teams. Every team I played, we'd still win 11 rings in this era. That's what Bill Russell said. So I'm sorry. Turns out the 90s wasn't very good if you listen to the old heads. So your era's cooked.
So real talk. Like Mark was saying, right? Everybody that's older than 40 do not look at the 90s fonder. They don't. Everybody that grew up in the 80s and before, they shit on the 90s all the time. All the time.
I haven't really spoken to anyone who spoke extensively about basketball.
People were complaining about the 90s as it was happening.
Yes. Dr. J.
What did they mainly complain about? That was the expansion era?
The expansion era.
The expansion era. The era's watered down. It doesn't take as much to win. Teams are less talented. Everything. People playing in the league at the time. They asked Dennis Rodman during the 96 season, how does he feel that the Bulls are on track to break the win record of 69 wins? He's like, we can win games with our eyes closed. It's not that difficult. Like, the league isn't that good. That's literally what he said. But here we are meant to praise that era where Dennis Rodman is on the best team saying, this league is not very good. Jerry Sloan, coaching the Utah Jazz, one of the best teams in the late 90s, said, yeah, it's easier to win now. Now we only need 2 or 3 good players. Back in the day, you needed 5 or 6 good players to win championships. That's what Jerry Sloan said at the time as it was happening.
Sounds like today's league. You need a lot.
But apparently the 90s is just so superior. But as it was happening, all I heard was people saying the league was watered down, not as good, bad product. But apparently you listen to someone who
how many teams were added in the 90s?
They went from
why don't you ever bring this up to
6, 7, I think.
Why
because you don't want to go. Dub, no one wants to yell. No one wants to yell for like an hour and a half. Dub, that's why.
Keep talking over you. He won't.
He's scared
because why would I when I know I'm right just have an argument that's gonna go in circles for half an hour? Why would I do that?
Also,
it's content, bro.
I'm gonna hit up. But if anyone got Tech and Nate, hit me up online.
But yeah, make sure you guys join the playback if you haven't. Like,
I didn't know that all of these criticisms from people who's actually played the game. That's crazy.
But what do they know? What do they know, right? What do they know?
They played the game at the highest levels, man.
They also interviewed Wilt and Bill. I remember they interviewed them, and
Ticket is cooked.
And they asked them how they would guard Shaq, because Shaq at the time was considered the most unguardable player. They were like, "Yo, like if I'm guarding Shaq, I'm just gonna make him run. Like I'm gonna make him get up and down the court, tire him out, and make him use his I'm gonna use my speed and athleticism to my advantage. You know what I'm saying? That's basically
we should watch those interviews today. Do you have them?
Yo, like real talk.
No, they were up there capping, but like,
the playback is
they did not
literally
cap.
the moment this show ends on YouTube, we will be going over to Playback.
Yeah, let's
so
do
just
this.
make sure you're right there on Playback. We'll be there for about an hour, and we just gonna chop it up. That's what's gonna happen.
No, real talk, Dub. Like Dub, like Wilt and Bill Russell, like the first rappers. Like real talk, like Ali,
insane.
they were like the first rappers. Like I put you.
I'm not reading that super chat. Yours is a bully, bro. I'm not gonna hold.
I just find that so funny that the players from the years prior ends up cooking the eras that came after them.
You know what's so crazy? You know what's
what era don't do that, Morris? The 2000 era. You will not find a lot of great players of the 2000s. Crap.
They actually do respect like the modern game. Like, I'm not gonna lie. The more I like see Gilbert Arenas podcast, it's a nice little watch. I'm not gonna lie. It's
Gilbert Arenas,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty good.
Gilbert, that guy, man.
I think Player's Choice is better, but hey, Gilbert Arenas like a close second in my opinion. That's a pretty good podcast. I think
See,
that's really interesting.
That's a lottery pick answer right there, Dale. That's a lottery.
Yeah, that's a lottery pick answer for sure. That's a lottery.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. What they be saying be making sense. I'm not gonna lie. They be when you see the clips out of context, it looks kind of bad, but then you see like somebody explanation. Rashad McCants is kind of stupid, but like Gilbert Arenas, Gilbert Arenas be making sense. I'm not gonna lie. I be listening to him like that makes sense.
Did you hear the Manu Ginobili over him?
That didn't make sense. But like, no. When he starts talking about comparing players and stuff, and I see him reading off Basketball Reference, this guy did this and that doesn't make sense. But when he's talking about like the rules and like how the league was different,
he understands the rules a lot.
He's right.
Yeah,
he's right. Now I heard him say Isaiah Thomas is an overrated point guard and he's not top 5. And then started saying he only made 5 on NBA teams. Like when he starts going on his accolade rant, he's stupid.
Yeah, he was
but
on
when
the
he's like,
track
talking about the rules of the game and how the game's changed, like you can tell he knows what he's talking about. Like I'm like, okay, I can see that. I respect that. So, like,
and that's the thing where like the old heads keep saying, "Oh yeah, you know, y'all gonna do it too, or y'all gonna do what we did." I think. And the 2000s is good. I don't hear too much people from the 2000s or who grew up on the 2000s really crapping on what's going on right now.
They don't.
Now I do think that they value their
Pierce hating. I'm like, miss defense in the
NBA. That's Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce said he can like guard up today though. He said he can still play. Like he's delusional.
Paul Pierce is wild. But people who played in that era, people who literally watched and grew up on that era, they look at this era today and they really highly respect Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett is the guy's like, yo, bro, these kids are doing
so much love.
Yeah, so much Reddick and shit. Yeah,
he was like, yo, they are doing something that's insane. It doesn't make sense. And he was like, yeah, they got to get love. So that's why it's like, I guess you could say it's like, and this is why I say it's just about watching the game. Because I just think about like guys back then, like they didn't watch it enough because there was not enough access to it. Now, when you're actually just watching so much of tape right now today, and you're literally seeing all the intricate details that's going into stuff, you're just like, nah, bro. Like, what these guys are doing are insane. And this ain't no narrative talk. If somebody says something, I could go right here and go check it out on NBA League Pass or Playback with me and Mars, and we could see and really get down to the facts. But back then, all you had to go off of what other people was writing or reading or telling you, right? So it's not enough. There was not a lot of confirmation back then because you couldn't watch anything then.
I think a lot of players back then do show like respect though. Like I don't. No. I think it's a lot of the fans.
Dr. J's whole entire top 10 is nothing but.
But that's not.
I mean,
that's just what he grew up on. Yeah,
we have to end the show. We have open field. Open field is next on YouTube, but open gym is next on Playback.
All right, let's get us Playback, bro. Y'all be
open gym is next on.